A fierce wolf snarls with glowing yellow eyes, barking a loud, sharp woof, woof. The dark-haired girl trembles on the floor as Count Avalanche approaches with a drawn sword and a barking hound. Tears well in the child's golden eyes as she cries out in confusion, wondering why this is happening. Count Avalanche looms over the small girl, coldly justifying his cruelty as a necessary duty for his family. Paralyzed by terror, the child holds her head and desperately begs for the frightening man to stop. Count Avalanche raises his sword to strike, calling her an abomination while she pleads for her life. The girl jolts awake with a gasp, her eyes wide as the remnants of the nightmare linger. Shaking on the floor of her dim room, she realizes the same horrific memory has returned once again. She vigorously shakes her head, trying to clear her mind and stay focused on the urgent task ahead. With a determined expression, the child points into the designated distance and warns of a looming threat of poison. She sighs in frustration, struggling with her limited 5-year-old vocabulary and the physical difficulty of speaking clearly. Standing by a small tree stump, she clenches her fists and vows that she will not give up. She shouts out the truth of her situation, identifying the old Count Avalanche as the true culprit. Her mood shifts instantly to excitement as she gazes at a shimmering gold coin, demanding to have it. She holds her hands out wide, insisting that she must be paid specifically in gold coins for her survival. While she looks obsessed with money, she justifies it as the only way to fund her eventual escape. A loud rumble sounds from her stomach as she clings to a piece of wood, weakened by hunger. She worries that she might starve to death before she can ever collect the gold she needs. Staring at the heavy wooden door, she reflects on a lifetime of confinement and the lack of a savior. She looks away thoughtfully, realizing she must practice her pronunciation to ensure people take her warnings seriously. History recalls Arsila Avalanche, the silver-haired 9th daughter of the gods, who was revered as a divine figure. The saintess Arsila was worshipped like a religion by more than half of the people in the empire. A golden tree stands on a floating island, representing the heavenly realm where the divine angel once lived. It is explained that those born to be saintesses and knights are always marked by brilliant silver hair. The Avalanche family prospered, gaining immense wealth and power through their association with the legendary silver-haired mother. The mother eventually appeared pregnant, though the identity of the father remained a closely guarded, scandalous secret. Count Avalanche and the family look on in absolute horror as the secret is finally revealed at birth. The baby was born with black hair, a forbidden symbol of evil and the enemy of the gods. The infant was immediately locked away, while the mother reportedly passed away from a sudden, mysterious illness. Shadows loom over the child as the religious population of the empire viewed her existence with deep-seated hatred. The silver-haired aunt snarls in rage, blaming the innocent child for the death of her beloved sister. Count Avalanche seethes with resentment, claiming the girl's presence ruined his chances of becoming a high-ranking cardinal. Trapped inside, the girl reaches toward a high window, knowing she must escape or face a certain death. Count Avalanche shouts at her, angrily reminding her of the money wasted on her unwanted care and education. The cruel aunt grabs the girl's hair and screams that the child should have simply died instead. The girl realizes she is only alive because the family has a specific, dark purpose for her future. Memories of fire and chaos flash through her mind as she recalls the terror of her last birthday. The aunt's fury peaks as she blames the girl for ruining her sister's life and legacy. Overcome by the abuse, the small girl sobs and apologizes to her aunt for her very existence. The aunt forces the child to repeat a traumatizing lie about being responsible for her mother's death. Choking on her tears, the girl obeys the cruel command and whispers the heartbreaking words herself. The aunt stands tall in her red dress, satisfied that the girl has at least learned how to write. The child recalls the butler's lessons, including the painful fact that she is not allowed the family name. She is forced to write her own condemnation, labeling herself as the daughter who killed her mother. The aunt threatens to withhold all food until the child completes the writing task 100 times. Deep in thought, the girl begins to believe the lies, feeling like a devil that shouldn't exist. Despite the overwhelming grief and self-hatred, she cries out that she still desperately wants to live. She collapses into a heap on the floor among her papers, calling out softly for her mother. A hand reaches out as the scene shifts abruptly, a sudden movement breaking the heavy silence. Rushed by her silver-haired aunt, the brown-haired girl is urged to move faster through the estate. Her footsteps echo on the stone path as she marvels at how lively the environment feels today. Surrounded by towering adults, the small girl pauses, feeling suddenly overwhelmed by the crowded social scene. Clutching a glass of red liquid, she reflects on a dream she can never forget. The story unfolds as the devil's beloved daughter finds herself in the arms of a mysterious man. Dark secrets linger as the girl reflects on her past with the cruel count and the aunt. Wearing a wig to hide her black hair, she successfully sneaks into the royal victory party. Her aunt points toward a young boy, commanding her to take the drink to him immediately. The red-haired boy, Abel Durnevra, is identified as the target of the aunt's suspicious health advice. Narration reveals the Durnevra family's reputation as the demon-leading enemies of the Empire's sacred faith. Trembling with fear, the girl holds the glass, terrified of the consequences if she disobeys her family. Approaching the red-haired boy, she offers him the drink, just as her aunt had strictly instructed. Abel flashes a bright, innocent smile, completely unaware of the danger hidden within the liquid. A reflection in her wide eyes captures the chilling moment the boy begins to consume the drink. Crash! The boy collapses in agony, coughing up blood as the glass shatters on the floor. Looking down at the tragedy, the girl realizes too late the horrific role she played in the scheme. Her silver-haired aunt smiles with cruel satisfaction, labeling the traumatized child a murderer for her actions. This incident ignites a brutal war between the demon-worshipping families and the holy knights of the Empire. Flames engulf the estate as she realizes her uncle used her to orchestrate this catastrophic conflict. Locked away, the black-haired girl seethes with resentment, hating that she must call the man her uncle. She identifies Count Avalanche as the true mastermind behind her suffering and the ongoing destruction. Time passes in agonizing silence as she remains imprisoned within the dim walls of the Avalanche mansion. Wandering through ruins, the girl carries the crushing guilt that all the devastation happened because of her. Her golden eyes reflect deep sorrow as she contemplates her inability to plan for a better future. A distant figure in a fur-trimmed cape watches her as she looks out over a sun-drenched castle. The black-haired man approaches her, finally acknowledging her as his daughter in a startling revelation. Stunned by the news, the girl in rags stares up at the man she never knew was her father. A portrait reveals that her mother had a secret relationship with the Grand Duke of a rival family. Shrouded in chains, she understands the Count hid her to keep her from ever meeting her real father. Heavy guilt weighs on her as she remembers the death of his half-brother by her own hand. Memories of a different dream surface, where her defiance led to her being hunted by the Count's hounds. In that horrific timeline, the Count murdered her and fed her remains to his savage animals. Her tragic death at the enemy's gate once again served as a catalyst for a vengeful war. Flashbacks show the household maids treating the young child with excessive cruelty and undisguised hatred. The maids pour buckets of water over her in the courtyard, humiliating her under the guise of a bath. Seizing a moment of opportunity, the small girl crawls through a gap and desperately flees her captors. She begins a lonely life on the streets, avoiding orphanages for fear her family would find her again. Survival becomes her only goal, as she joins a street gang while still at a very tender age. After many hardships, she finds refuge and an apprenticeship under the guidance of a kind, elderly boss. She grows into a hard-working manager, handling gold coins behind a counter to earn her living. Exhausted, the child in rags collapses on the floor, pleading for the relentless nightmare to finally end. A gentle hand rests on her head as she reflects on the brevity and special nature of her dream. Now dressed in fine lace, the girl wonders if Mia is truly the name she should claim. The black-haired man smiles warmly at her, calling her Mel with an expression of genuine affection. Surrounded by white lilies, the father holds his daughter in a moment described as incredibly sweet. Despite the warmth, the child remains suspicious, questioning the sudden and unexpected display of fatherly love. Haunted by the past, she fears her father's death was caused by her very presence in his life. She remains guarded and cynical, convinced that this kindness is merely a trap leading to more suffering. Her golden eyes widen as she dares to imagine a world where she could choose her own future. Sitting within spectral chains, she resolves to find a way to escape and put her simple plan into action. Looking toward a burning castle, the black-haired girl plans to betray her uncle's evil plot to her father. Her golden eyes sparkle as she imagines using her knowledge to demand a lifetime of maintenance fees in gold. She reflects on a dream where her father was a source of comfort rather than a looming threat to her. Determined to find freedom, she points toward the silhouette of a protection agency that could save a child like her. Running through the streets with a heavy sack, she envisions a life where survival is finally within her reach. Clenching her fists, the black-haired girl vows that her careful practice of clear pronunciation will ensure her success. Kneeling among white lilies, she offers a quiet prayer to any god who might be listening to her plight. The story of the devil's beloved daughter unfolds across various scenes of high-stakes drama and unexpected fatherly affection. The young girl stares wide-eyed and stunned, her small hands trembling as she reacts to an unforeseen development. A sudden, heavy footstep sounds as the black-haired girl sits defiantly on the floor between two looming adults. The bald Count Avalanche and the silver-haired aunt loom in the doorway, their expressions cold and unforgiving. Respecting the forced etiquette, the girl bows low and greets her uncle and aunt with practiced, hollow politeness. Surrounded by vibrant flowers, she puts on a dazzling, false smile while claiming to have missed her cruel relatives. Count Avalanche coldly informs the girl that her living situation is changing, prompting a confused reaction from the child. Her eyes light up with genuine excitement as she realizes her plan to leave her current room is succeeding. The silver-haired aunt looks on with visible disdain as the girl celebrates the start of her secret dream journey. Standing between her captors, the black-haired girl feels a surge of triumph, convinced that her time has finally come. Settled into a new room, she marvels at the soft bed and the warmth that finally protects her feet. Despite her new surroundings, she feels the sting of loneliness, remembering a dream of dining with her aunt. Chaos erupts as several maids grab the struggling girl, who screams for them to keep their hands off her. Fear and rage flicker in her golden eyes as a maid's hand reaches out to seize her roughly. The girl fights back, leaving the blonde maid clutching a painful injury while the uncle and aunt watch coldly. Count Avalanche orders the staff to leave the girl alone, dismissing her as a beast that needs time to adapt. The girl feels a surge of hope, realizing these events perfectly mirror the sequences from her third dream. Sitting on her bed, she strategically considers if she must act recklessly toward the servants to trigger her escape. She recalls the trauma of being bullied by maids and realizes she can use their predictable anger to flee. Surrounded by cherry blossoms, she convinces herself that her biological father would never truly abandon his own daughter. Her small voice echoes through the room as she repeatedly demands the alimony she believes she is rightfully owed. The door swings open as a blonde maid enters, carrying a tray of food that catches the girl's attention. Recognition flashes through her mind as she identifies the smiling maid as the one who previously bullied her. A nervous gulp follows as the girl stares at the meal, suspecting the maid's kindness is merely a facade. She recalls how this specific servant used the excuse of monitoring her to force her to eat inedible things. Staring at the tray of questionable soup and hard bread, the girl confirms that her suspicions were entirely correct. She looks at the food with pure disgust, noting the lack of utensils and fearing the meal might be lethal. The blonde maid sneers, calling the girl a wild animal and mockingly telling her to eat with her hands. A dark realization settles over her as she weighs the two horrific options of eating or being forced to. Defiant, the girl stands on her bed and demands that the blonde maid feed her the meal by hand. She shouts a sharp ultimatum, threatening to report the maid's behavior to the Count if her demands aren't met. Visible sweat beads on the maid's face as she reluctantly agrees to fetch eating utensils to avoid a confrontation. The girl remains relentless, insisting that the maid must use her own hands to tear the food apart for her. Caught off guard by the child's sudden authority, the maid fumbles for an excuse. Her angry gaze narrows as she scolds the servant for failing to perform her job with the proper respect. Enraged by the humiliation, the blonde maid seethes with a silent curse while glaring back at the small child. The girl points a commanding finger, ordering the maid to take the food away and redo it entirely. Surrounded by flowers, she calmly threatens to expose the maid's evil deeds when Count Avalanche arrives to inspect. Her shout for the Count echoes as she cleverly uses the threat of his arrival to keep the maid trapped. Grabbing the maid's arm, the girl demands total obedience, forcing the servant to comply with her humiliating request. She reflects on the maid's predictable resentment, deciding to offer a false forgiveness in exchange for better treatment. The confrontation peaks as the girl asks if the maid wants to be fired, leaving the servant gritting her teeth. The blonde maid finally explodes in rage, screaming that the girl will never truly be treated like a lady. The black-haired girl rejects the blonde maid's mocking commands with a look of cold, unwavering defiance. Panic ensues as another servant rushes in, warning that Count Avalanche is approaching the girl's room. While the blonde maid freezes in terror, the girl suppresses a smirk, knowing her trap is set. Count Avalanche marches into the room, demanding an explanation for the loud commotion disturbing his mansion. A sudden, loud crash sounds as the food tray and questionable meal are deliberately dropped onto the floor. The bald Count stands in the doorway while the girl feigns absolute distress to frame the trembling maid. Tears streaming, the girl accuses the maid of forcing her to eat like an animal without any utensils. She points a finger, lying that the maid threatened she would become bald like her uncle if she disobeyed. The maids are paralyzed by the girl's calculated slander, knowing the Count's extreme vanity about his appearance. Mel reflects on her past dreams, knowing the Count is deeply insecure about being ridiculed for his hairless head. His face turning a deep shade of crimson, the Count demands the girl repeat her shocking accusation. Sobbing, she adds that the maid called him a lazy glutton, fueling the man's growing, explosive rage. The Count screams in a towering fury, completely falling. He orders the blonde maid to be dragged away for severe punishment, ignoring her desperate pleas for mercy. The girl internally bids the maid goodbye, accepting that this victory will earn her the hatred of the staff. She contemplates her next move, anticipating that she will soon be taken to the mansion's washing room. Though her plan is working, she feels a chill as the Count watches her with an intense, unreadable gaze. Her golden eyes widen in sudden terror as she wonders if the man intends to kill her instead. She steels her resolve, reminding herself that, according to her visions, today is not the day she dies. Turning away, the Count orders that the girl receive no food, a punishment she expected and welcomes. Surrounded by an imaginary field of flowers, the black-haired child celebrates her first major victory over her captors. Hunger takes over as she finally eats, crying out for food while devouring the bread she secured. She recalls the history of Grand Duke Khalid Pasha Durnevre and the differing temperaments of his two sons. Memories of the red-haired second son surface, a boy she once poisoned in a different, tragic timeline. Shaking off the haunting memories, the girl focuses on survival and obtaining what she needs for her future. Doubt creeps in as she wonders if her biological father will ever truly believe her incredible story. She envisions herself standing before the Grand Duke, offering world-saving information in exchange for a mountain of gold. Her eyes sparkle as she imagines demanding 1,000 gold coins for the secrets she holds within her. Back in her room, she prepares for the day's final trial, determined not to forget any crucial detail. The maids wait until the Count has departed before moving in to exact their revenge on the child. They surround her with cruel smiles, calling her a little devil for her earlier performance in front of the Count. The girl is roughly seized and dragged toward the courtyard as she screams for them to let her go. She cries out for her uncle, but the maids mockingly inform her that both masters are away. A sharp ouch sounds as she is thrown onto the cold cobblestones of the mansion's courtyard. The maids prepare to drench her, unaware that the girl is timing her reaction to her aunt's return. A sudden, icy splash sounds as the maids begin their cruel ritual under the guise of a bath. They laugh while pouring water over her head, mocking the dirty hair of the supposed devil's daughter. Shivering from the cold, she endures the humiliation, knowing their hatred stems from religious fear and superstition. The servants continue their verbal abuse, scoffing at the idea that a child like her possesses royal blood. She spots her intended escape route, a small gap in the wall, and worries about having no dry clothes. A maid holds up a yellow dress, and the girl realizes this is her chance to grab and go. The silver-haired aunt suddenly appears, her voice cutting through the air as she demands to know what is happening. Seizing the perfect moment of distraction, the girl prepares to launch her desperate final bid for freedom. With a sudden, sharp movement, the girl bites the maid's arm with all the strength she can muster. The maid screams ouch in pain, and the girl instantly bolts toward the courtyard exit. The silver-haired aunt watches with a stunned expression as the girl she once controlled flees her reach. Looking back one last time, the girl's golden eyes reflect the grim determination of someone choosing their destiny. She scrambles through the narrow gap in the stone wall while the panicked maids chase after her. The blonde maid falls to the ground, screaming in frustration as her small captive disappears into the city. Scrambling through the narrow gap, Mel escapes the mansion and runs toward the freedom of the city. The blonde maid falls onto the cold ground, gasping for breath as her small captive successfully flees. Gasping, Mel looks back at the Avalanche mansion, knowing she has reached the alleyway from her dreams. She remembers her third dream, where she traveled this very path as an older girl in common clothes. Clad in her fine yellow dress, Mel sprints through the streets while petals fall softly around her. The town's buildings loom over the girl as she runs toward her destined meeting place. She pushes herself forward, determined to reach her goal before the mansion's search parties can find her. Two men notice Mel's expensive attire and exchange greedy looks as the small child runs past them. A sharp gasp escapes her as she realizes the men have identified her as a wealthy, noble child. One man lunges forward to seize her, forcing the terrified Mel to scramble away in a desperate rush. She flees toward the main road, her heart pounding as she narrowly avoids the stranger's reach. Spotting a dense crowd, Mel hopes to disappear among the people and reach the grand carriage. Her golden eyes widen in shock as she realizes the critical moment of her escape has finally arrived. A sudden, soft thud sounds as Mel runs directly into the path of a grand procession. Bright trumpets blare loudly, signaling the arrival of a highly powerful and influential noble. The crowd erupts in cheers for the Grand Duke, celebrating his long-awaited and glorious victory. Mel falls back in shock, finding herself face to face with the very carriage she had been seeking. A horse neighs loudly, rearing up over the small child as she trembles on the cobblestone street. Terror consumes the girl as she prays to survive this dangerous encounter with the massive beast. Squeezing her eyes shut, Mel begs for one more chance to reach her biological father. The horse's hooves settle as the driver pulls the reins, leaving Mel huddled and shaking on the ground. A black-haired man steps forward, mockingly comparing the girl's disheveled state to a wet duck. Mel looks up at the handsome man, recognizing him instantly as her biological father. She struggles to stay composed, knowing she must speak clearly to win the Grand Duke's trust. The man's expression shifts as he detects a familiar and powerful scent emanating from the child. Mel shouts her claim, insisting that the Grand Duke must recognize his own daughter immediately. Wailing loudly for alimony, the girl cries as her father turns away to continue his business. Later, wrapped in a warm blanket, Mel dejectedly sips from a cup of hot tea. The Grand Duke discusses the Emperor's anger with his aide while Mel watches from the sofa. He coldly threatens to kill the Emperor if provoked further, showing his ruthless and powerful nature. Mel marvels at his handsome face and the fearless power he radiates as he speaks. She senses his overwhelming aura, realizing he is truly the most powerful person in the Empire. Shaking her head quickly, Mel tries to suppress her fear of his intimidating and suffocating presence. The aide asks for instructions regarding the girl, startling her out of her quiet thoughts. The Grand Duke insists on questioning her personally because of the unique scent she carries. He orders his aide to let her rest and find someone to attend to her needs. Confused, Mel wonders what the aide means by referring to a respectable servant named Tina. He reflects on the girl's strange appearance and her incredibly bold demand for alimony. Mel resolves to stay mentally alert, realizing her survival depends on navigating this new situation. Exhaustion finally begins to take hold of the girl as her heavy eyelids begin to droop. A quick slurp is followed by an as she discovers the tea's incredibly bitter taste. She tries to mask her disgust, fearing that acting cute will weaken her position at the table. The aide notes her obvious distaste for the drink while the Grand Duke watches her silently. The Duke recalls that his son, Abel, enjoys everything, contrasting Mel's clearly negative reaction. He orders the aide to feed the girl what she likes, noting how thin and fragile she is. Panic flares in Mel's golden eyes as she sees her father turning to leave the room. She stands up with a sudden start, shouting a desperate plea for him to stop. Clinging to his leg, she declares he is her father, while the teacup falls with a clatter. The Grand Duke realizes he must address the situation out loud as he stares down at her. Mel shouts a desperate offer to trade secrets about a poison plot in exchange for her survival. The Grand Duke and his aide, Ravinus, stare at the small child in stunned, silent shock. Smirking at her boldness, the black-haired man notes the girl's surprisingly wicked and calculating nature. He continues his thought, concluding that her cunning behavior truly makes her resemble a little monster. Mel is offended by his expression, inwardly screaming that she is definitely not a demon. As the man turns away, Mel cries out, trying desperately to stop him from leaving her. He lifts her up, noting her scorched leg as she gasps from a sharp sting of pain. The Grand Duke looks at her closely, asking if she is in such a rush to speak. He orders Ravenous to heal the girl's injuries, and the aide prepares to obey his command immediately. Mel watches in awe as Ravenous uses magic to soothe the painful burns on her scorched skin. Feeling much better, Mel realizes she must play the part of a polite and decent child. She bows deeply and offers a sincere thank you to the surprised and blushing aide. Ravenous is bewildered, never having expected a thank you from a girl she considers a female demon. With a quick click of the door, Ravenous politely asks for permission to depart the room. Mel focuses her attention on the Duke, determined to explain her warning clearly and slowly this time. She urgently warns him not to attend the party today, confusing the powerful and influential man. He listens skeptically as she claims she worked incredibly hard to escape just to warn him. Bluntly, the Duke asks if she is simply trying to request more money from him. Mel quickly agrees it is a news fee, while gold coins fall in her greedy imagination. Her face turns red with intensity as she prepares to demand a down payment for her secrets. She boldly asks for a 50% prepayment, wondering if her request makes her appear too snarky. The Duke smiles, intrigued by her demand, and asks what she wants for the down payment. Mel enthusiastically describes a small, sparkly, and expensive item that she can easily carry and sell later. He chuckles and touches his brooch, instantly seeing through the girl's practical and desperate plan. Mel gasps in wonder as he hands her a glittering blue brooch as part of their deal. She examines the beautiful blue gem, mesmerized by its brilliance and wondering about its true value. Recalling her past experience with jewels, Mel realizes the Grand Duke's items are likely incredibly pricey. Mel gets serious, warning the Duke that Count Avalanche is the main culprit in a murder plot. The man flinches, his orange eyes widening as the weight of her shocking claim sinks in. She reveals the grim details, stating that his enemies intend to administer a deadly poison. The Duke stares at her with a haunted expression, wondering if the child has finally gone insane. Mel warns him to avoid any liquid offered to him, fearing he might die if he drinks. He calmly tells her he has understood and will discuss the other matters with her later. Mel is left completely baffled by his calm reaction to her terrifying and urgent warning. A sudden, large hand reaches out to gently pet the confused girl's purple hair. Mel flinches in utter shock as her father pets her head before walking toward the door. He asks what is wrong while Mel remains frozen by the unexpected and strange gesture of affection. Snapping out of it, Mel shouts that she must change her dirty yellow dress immediately. The Duke looks back at her with a calm, unreadable, and slightly judgmental expression. He exits the room, leaving a sudden knock-knock sounds as Mel worries about whether her father was upset by her messy appearance. A cheerful maid named Tina enters, introducing herself while sporting small red horns on her head. Mel stares in wide-eyed shock at the maid's unusual and intimidating demonic appearance.
Tina laughs, explaining that she cannot hide her horns and chooses to reveal them instead.
The girl trembles, wondering if the purple-haired maid is a real and dangerous demon.
Tina assumes Mel is an elite demon because she has managed to hide her horns perfectly. Mel is baffled, realizing the maid completely misunderstood why she does not have any horns.
Tina takes the girl's hands, encouraging her to relax while she takes care of her needs. Despite her appearance, Mel realizes that Tina is actually a very kind and gentle person. The maid leads the way, promising to slowly answer all of Mel's curious questions.
Tina gently pours warm water over Mel as she enjoys a relaxing bubble bath with a yellow duck. The two share a joyful laugh as the purple-haired maid gifts the small child an adorable toy for her bath. Mel quietly observes her new attendant, wondering about the red-horned woman's true nature and gender identity.
Tina explains that low-class demons are born genderless to better serve their powerful and high-class devil masters. Closing her eyes with pride, Tina expresses that serving a high-class demon like Mel is her life's greatest honor. Mel contemplates the existence of gods and demons, concluding that if her family are all devils, she must be too. As Tina begins scrubbing her back, Mel recalls lessons claiming all devils are inherently wicked and evil beings. A sudden gasp escapes Tina as she notices something unexpected while cleaning the small, purple-haired girl. Tina points excitedly at a butterfly mark on Mel's chest, calling it a signature sign of a formidable demon. Mel dismisses the glowing mark as a simple birthmark, but Tina insists it is the sign of her true heritage. Tina explains that Mel's lack of magic makes the sign look ordinary, though her own eyes see its true power. An orange butterfly sigil glows brightly on Mel's chest, signifying her hidden and untapped magical potential. Mel touches the mark thoughtfully, beginning to wonder if there is more to her identity than she first realized. The curious girl asks if her father is married, prompting Tina to mention that the Duke has 2 sons. Mel worries that being an illegitimate child will cause the Grand Duke's wife to despise and mistreat her. She imagines a cold, red-haired noblewoman bullying her, much like her cruel aunt did in her past life. Tina finds the concept of marriage strange, explaining that demons do not follow human definitions of union. She lectures Mel on demon biology, stating that marriage is unnecessary for female demons to raise their children. Mel's eyes widen in shock as Tina declares that raising and caring for children is exclusively a male demon's responsibility. A sudden, loud squeak sounds as Tina angrily crushes a rubber duck, threatening any man who abandons his child. Mel realizes her brothers were raised solely by the Duke, wondering if he provided them with love and warmth. Now dressed in clean white clothes, Mel tries to suppress her jealousy regarding her father's established family life. Tina beams at the girl, remarking on her beauty and anticipating the surprise of her 2 older brothers. Learning her oldest brother is named Kyan, Mel reflects on how beautiful and elegant the name sounds to her. Despite the charm of the name, Mel questions why she feels the need to remember her siblings at all. She remains determined to complete her deal and disappear, refusing to disrupt her father's seemingly perfect family unit. A series of quick gulps follow as Mel eagerly drinks a warm, sweet beverage from a light blue mug. Her face lights up with delight at the sugary taste, while Tina watches her with a cheerful smile. The girl marvels at the fluffy marshmallows floating in her hot chocolate, a luxury she has never experienced before. Mel gazes in wide-eyed wonder at the soft sweets, slowly realizing how much her life has truly changed. Tina tucks her into a soft pink bed, encouraging the small girl to sleep well so she can grow. Before drifting off, Mel asks about the Grand Duke's whereabouts, learning that he is currently very occupied. Tina explains that the Duke is overwhelmed with post-war duties, leaving Mel to ponder her father's busy life. A vision of her red-haired brother, Abel,
smiling warmly, flickers through Mel's mind as she prepares for sleep. Tina bids her a final goodnight, closing the door as the girl settles into the quiet, dark room. Lying beneath the covers, Mel reflects on the comfort of the soft bed, feeling safe for the first time. She cherishes the memories of her hot bath and sweet milk, hoping they will sustain her in the future. A soft rustle sounds as Mel huddles under the blankets, already dreading the day she must leave this warmth. Outside, under the glowing full moon, the Grand Duke and Ravenous walk together through the quiet palace grounds. Ravenous confirms the child is asleep and reports that Tina verified the presence of the butterfly birthmark. The black-haired man looks troubled, admitting he cannot fully grasp the strange circumstances surrounding the young girl's arrival. He reflects on his past, noting that the mother of his sons never sought to control or possess him. The Duke remains suspicious of Mel's sudden appearance, wondering about the true motives behind her desperate warning. He questions Ravenous about the Avalanche family, hearing reports of unusual night patrols searching the city alleys. Ravenous explains that his spies detected something amiss, as the knights seem to be frantically hunting for something. A cold smirk touches the Duke's lips as he realizes he may already understand the secret the girl carries. He orders an investigation into Escalating Avalanche, despite Ravenous' surprise at targeting a woman known as a divine daughter. The Duke recalls a time before the war when the silver-haired Escalating would frequently visit him. In his memory, the woman boldly insisted that since he was unmarried, he should stay only with her. He frowns at the recollection of her forwardness, remembering how she had once shamelessly asked to sleep with him. Reflecting on her weariness, the silver-haired woman recalls the exhaustion of living as a daughter of the gods. Walking through the gardens, the Duke suspects Escalating Avalanche stole his life force, while Ravenous remains skeptical. The Duke firmly recalls rejecting the woman, now worrying that war might erupt sooner than he initially planned. He contemplates if Escalating used his power to give birth, deciding he must investigate the child's true age. When questioned if Escalating is human, Ravenous notes she shares a demon's ability to give birth periodically. Surrounded by white roses, the silver-haired Escalating is questioned about her title as the daughter of the gods. Despite her human status, the woman appears to have found a mysterious way to achieve her hidden goals. Ravenous questions if the Duke's children were born of depravity, leaving the black-haired man in a thoughtful silence. The scene shifts as the young girl's vibrant orange eyes sparkle with a mixture of hope and curiosity. Ravenous resolves to raise the girl, but fears the holy power Escalating received might have already killed her. The Duke instructs Ravenous to observe the girl while confirming Abel will not attend the upcoming victory party. Swirling blue magic surrounds the Duke as he begins to vanish, acknowledging his aide's words with a simple confirmation. With a final glance, the Duke declares he will return later before disappearing completely into the ethereal mist. Under the starry night sky, a voice from within the Grand Palace asks urgently if the child was lost. Inside the hall, Count Avalanche kneels before a council of masked figures, apologizing profusely for his failure. Seated upon a throne, the masked leader plots to eliminate Abel Durnevray, calling him a monster. The council berates the trembling Count for failing to brainwash the child and ruining their intricate long-term strategy. A pale hand rises with authority, signaling the end of the discussion regarding the Count's repeated and costly mistakes. The white-robed council looms over the kneeling man, their silent judgment filling the cold, cavernous room. Count Avalanche begs desperately for a second chance, but the masked leader merely repeats the word with mocking disdain. With cold, piercing blue eyes, the leader declares the Count worthless and rejects his plea for mercy. The Count is struck with terror as he is ordered to leave the presence of the powerful council immediately. The masked man announces that a new child of God will soon arrive in this world to fulfill prophecy. A sudden, powerful force erupts, sending the Count flying backward out of the palace doors with a pained cry. Tumbling through the air, the Count shouts in denial, unable to believe his sudden and violent expulsion. The heavy doors slam shut with a loud thump, leaving the disgraced Count alone on the dark palace steps. He remembers the day Arcila was chosen, when he dreamed of gaining glory despite being a poor count. A vision of his younger, ambitious self smiling greedily reflects his long-standing desire for status and wealth. At Arcila's deathbed, a dark figure instructed him to keep the useful newborn without needing to love it. Reaching for a crown in his memory, the Count reflects on how he followed every instruction for power. In a flashback, nobles mock the Count for his sudden hiccups while he struggles to maintain his dignity. Panic ensues as a glowing red mark appears on his forehead, signifying his total rejection by the divine. The mark of humiliation labels him a traitor, stripping him of all benefits from the god El-Hala. Angry crowds surround the Count, shouting for him to be removed and calling him a traitor to their faith. Mocked and stripped of his status, the Count is forced to leave as bystanders laugh at his pathetic downfall. He is cast out into the street with a final warning never to show his face in public again. Desperate and ruined, the Count wonders how he will survive as rumors of his betrayal begin to spread. A sudden, heavy clunk sound startles the Count as he sits alone in his carriage, fearing what comes next. Peering out the window, the Count realizes with growing dread that the carriage is taking an unfamiliar path. He gasps in terror as he realizes he is not alone in the carriage, his eyes widening with fear. A black-gloved hand reaches for him as a voice whispers that they have finally met at last. Unaware of the danger elsewhere, Mel happily sips her marshmallow milk, enjoying its sweet and comforting flavor. Dressed in a beautiful blue gown, the purple-haired girl wonders when her father will finally return to her. Mel sits on the sofa with Tina, worrying that her father might have forgotten her because of her age. Tina notices Mel's pensive mood and asks if she is bored, but the girl insists she is doing fine. The purple-haired maid suggests a tour of the mansion, surprising Mel with the offer to explore the grand estate. Tina enthusiastically describes the mansion's 666 rooms, mentioning chambers filled with precious pearls and glittering diamonds. Hearing about the Grand Duke's Chamber of Accomplishments, Mel eagerly agrees to the tour to learn about her father. As they walk, Mel notices the other maids staring at her with curious and intense expressions. Tina smiles warmly, reassuring the girl that everyone is staring simply because she is so undeniably adorable. Tina laughs off Mel's disbelief, playfully insisting that everything she just said is the absolute truth. The horned maid eagerly offers to show the girl a secret area, claiming she prepared a special key just for her. Tina throws open the doors to the Soleil Diamond Room, revealing a chamber that leaves Mel completely breathless. Her orange eyes widen in pure shock as the young girl tries to process the existence of such a legendary treasure. An ethereal glow surrounds a floating gem, as narration explains how these rare stones hold the sun's brilliance and never tarnish. Visuals of a grand carriage and a staff of servants illustrate the immense value of a single ring-sized Soleil diamond. Mel wonders if there is only one such gem, but Tina excitedly prepares to unveil the room's true centerpiece. A soft gasp escapes Mel as she catches her first glimpse of the spectacular display waiting inside the chamber. A sudden, sharp hic sounds as Mel sees a massive tree draped in hundreds of glowing golden Soleil diamonds. Tina beams with delight, explaining that she wanted to share this dazzling sight since the girl enjoys sparkling things. Mel is overwhelmed, realizing her father's wealth transcends mere money and enters the realm of the impossible. Gazing at the gems, Mel recalls seeing one in a past dream and never expected to see a forest of them. The girl leans in closer, her sharp eyes detecting something unusual about the way the light reflects off the stones. Mel asks about the origin of the decorations, looking suspiciously at the glittering tree while Tina answers her. Tina explains that the display was recently updated and that more gems have been added to the branches lately. Learning that Sir Revius worked hard to acquire these, Mel hesitates before deciding she must speak the harsh truth. With a firm gesture, the young girl shocks Tina by boldly declaring that the precious gem is a complete fake. Mel continues pointing out the deceptions, identifying multiple fraudulent stones hanging right above the stunned maid's head. Tina's jaw drops in utter disbelief, her hands flying to her mouth as she reels from the girl's accusation. Mel briefly worries she might be scolded for her outburst, fearing that adults will simply dismiss her as a child. She reflects on her expert knowledge of air bubbles, certain that these gems are clockwise rotating counterfeits rather than the real deal. Mel insists the family is being scammed, causing Tina to panic as she realizes the gravity of the girl's discovery. A sense of urgency takes over as Tina asks the girl to wait while she rushes to fetch Mr. Revius. Mel watches her go, feeling a strange warmth at the realization that Tina actually chose to believe her words. A heavy clatter sounds as Revius bursts into the room, his face pale with anxiety as he searches for Mel. Adjusting his glasses, Mel explains that the scammers used the tree's height to hide the flaws that only a child's perspective could catch. Revius hunches over with a magnifying glass, his expression turning to one of pure horror as he confirms her findings. Tina's face reddens with anger as she realizes how shamelessly people tried to deceive the prestigious Dernevray family. Mel offers her assistance to the distraught man, leaving Revius stunned that such a small child could be so helpful. Moving through the room, Mel points out one fake after another, while Revius follows behind in a state of shock. Tina watches in awe, clasping her hands together as she wonders how the girl could possibly be this intelligent. The maid asks with wide eyes how she can distinguish the gems so easily, praising her incredible talent. Mel freezes, realizing she cannot possibly explain that her expertise comes from a past life she saw in a dream. Thinking quickly, Mel claims she is helping to pay for the expensive meals she has been given lately. A heavy silence follows as Tina's expression crumbles, her Jans filling with tears at the girl's tragic misunderstanding. Tina demands to know who taught her such a cruel thing, weeping when Mel mentions her aunt and uncle. Through her sobs, Tina begs the girl to eat as much as she wants, promising that food costs nothing here. Mel is confused by the sudden emotional outburst, reaching out to comfort the crying maid with a worried expression. The girl gently tells Tina that she looks much prettier when she smiles, causing the maid to blush with gratitude. Revius stands nearby, tallying the massive financial loss they nearly suffered before the girl's intervention saved them. He bows deeply to Mel, promising to inform the Grand Duke that she is the one who saved their fortune. Mel tries to decline the praise, but Revius insists that anyone who uncovers a scam this large deserves a reward. Mel's eyes nearly pop out of her head when she hears the astronomical amount of money she will be paid. Visions of gold coins dance around her as Mel suddenly decides she absolutely loves the idea of being compensated. She reflects on her past dream where she earned far less, realizing she has just made a literal fortune. Sparkles fill her eyes as Mel imagines a future career as a famous and popular appraiser of fake gems. Tina laughs at the girl's ambitious thoughts, inviting her to continue the tour by visiting the mansion's other rooms. Mel's excitement returns as she asks to see the achievement room next, eager to learn more about her father. Looking down over the grand spiral staircase, Mel marvels at the sheer scale of the world she now inhabits. Tina leads Mel down the spiral staircase, but the young girl grows dizzy as the grand heights make her eyes roll. Mel looks determined, reflecting on the earlier praise she received while she tries to maintain her composure. Reaching a set of massive, butterfly-adorned doors, Tina excitedly announces they have arrived at their destination. Mel is captivated by the beautiful butterflies scattered throughout the mansion, her orange eyes wide with pure wonder. Tina gestures grandly as they enter the family history room, which is filled with glittering display cases. Mel observes the vast collection, feeling like she is in a museum, though the displays are much too tall. Tina reacts with a sudden, comical gasp as she realizes the young girl is struggling to see the artifacts. Admitting the girl looked too adorable on tiptoe, Tina apologizes for not picking her up much sooner. Mel expresses her gratitude as the horned maid lifts her high, promising a better view of everything. Mel wonders at the family's extensive collection while eyeing a small, soldier-like doll inside a glass case. Tina points toward a large silver bracelet, explaining it was once feared as a truly cursed and dangerous object. A vision shows the Grand Duke as a young boy sealing a powerful demon into that very bracelet. Tina dramatically describes a cursed soldier doll that used to hunt its owners, causing Mel to stare in surprise. Looking closely at the doll, Mel notices its appearance has changed significantly since it was first discovered. Narration explains how the Grand Duke conquered the deadly curse at age 7, turning the monster into a toy. Mel is shocked to learn her father actually played with such a terrifying, cursed object during his childhood. Tina explains the Grand Duke used the doll for training, making Mel realize her fear was entirely misplaced.
Tina points to a pile of dark remains, identifying them as cursed ashes from a past victory. Mel listens intently as the maid clarifies that even these remnants were once part of a powerful curse. A flashback reveals the Grand Duke incinerating a bloodsucker, leaving Mel in awe of his past occult strength. Leading the way, Tina announces the start of the display featuring the Grand Duke's achievements as a Eucharist.
Tina enthusiastically urges the girl to look up at a massive, shadowy figure looming directly ahead of them. Mel gasps in shock, her face turning pale as she finally sees the centerpiece of the trophy room. Stuffed heads of legendary monsters hang from heavy chains, serving as grim reminders of past wars and triumphs. Mel trembles with terror, imagining herself being killed and stuffed if she fails to please her father. A sudden vision of a beheaded man fuels the girl's anxiety about the violent world she now inhabits. Clutching the maid's hand, Mel fears she might become another trophy for simply existing in this dangerous palace. Tina suggests leaving as the girl's panic grows, trying to reassure her that dead things cannot cause harm. Mel stares at a blood-stained sword, realizing children like her could perish instantly against such a lethal weapon. Tina is startled as Mel suddenly screams out in denial, her overwhelming fear finally reaching its breaking point. A heavy thump sounds as Mel faints from exhaustion, causing Tina to reach out in a frantic panic. Lavish artwork depicts the girl and her father, serving as a thematic transition between the scenes. The Grand Duke sits by Mel's bed while Tina apologizes for the girl fainting in the trophy room. Tina reports on Mel's behavior, noting she eats well, but often hides a deep, lingering melancholy. Tina reveals a startling observation about the girl's nighttime habits that has left her deeply concerned. The maid explains how she found Mel sleeping on the hard ground despite being tucked into a bed. The Grand Duke is perplexed, wondering why his daughter would reject a comfortable bed against his explicit orders. Tina observes that the girl seems genuinely terrified, prompting the father to question the source of her fear. As Mel sleeps, Tina suggests the child is actually afraid of the very happiness she has recently found. The Grand Duke looks on with a stern expression, unable to comprehend the concept of someone fearing happiness. Tina explains that Mel doesn't view the mansion as home, comparing her to other mistreated, impoverished children. Tina recalls offering the girl new toys, only for Mel to politely decline and insist she is fine. Mel nods as Tina promises more treats, but the maid worries that the girl's detachment is unnatural. Tina suggests Mel's behavior stems from being a genius or believing her stay at the mansion is temporary. The Grand Duke questions Tina's credentials, asking if she truly holds a diploma in demon psychology and education. He orders the maid to teach the girl, hoping she can repair the damage from Mel's previous upbringing. The Grand Duke instructs Tina to reveal the truth about demons, undoing the lies told by Mel's aunt. Visuals illustrate the core demon values of happiness and ambition, contrasting sharply with the young girl's current fear. Reflecting on his sons, the Grand Duke remains baffled by the deep sadness he sees in his daughter. Gazing down at the sleeping child, the Grand Duke realizes with sudden chagrin that he still doesn't know her name. The Grand Duke asks Tina if she knows the girl's name, causing the maid to react with surprise. Mel sleeps soundly while the Grand Duke instructs Tina to provide comfort and treats upon her awakening. Looking down at the sleeping Mel, the Grand Duke reflects on her unusual obsession with dangerous trophies and swords. He resolves to visit her again tomorrow, as a soft swish sounds from his cloak while turning away. The Grand Duke pauses suddenly, his sharp gaze shifting as a flinch captures a momentary realization. He dismisses the bowing maid, granting her permission to leave the room for the night. Standing by the bedside, the father watches his daughter sleep with a look of growing curiosity and concern. A faint, gentle "huh" escapes him as a rare, small smile softens his normally stern features. He reaches out to tenderly adjust the pink checkered blanket over Mel's tiny, sleeping form. Looking down at the peaceful child, the Grand Duke finds her incredibly adorable while she rests. The scene shifts to a table overflowing with elaborate rose-themed pastries and various colorful fruit tarts.
Mel stares wide-eyed at the massive dessert spread, feeling overwhelmed despite being urged to eat for her health.
Tina encourages the girl to keep eating, delighted to see Mel enjoying the expensive and beautiful treats. A sudden comical ack escapes Mel when a mysterious voice compares her to an attractive duckling. Startled and clutching a treat, Mel worries she might be forced to pay for her expensive new clothing. The Grand Duke notices her distress, asking if the shirt is the cause of her current anxiety. He kneels to her level, warmly confirming that she is undeniably his true daughter. Looking at his child, the man explains how a demon's superior intellect allows her to understand and judge others. Mel is lost in thought, debating whether to reveal her secret dreams to her father. She cautiously mentions her dreams, sparking immediate curiosity from the attentive man sitting before her. A surprised wah escapes Mel as her father explains that she is inadvertently using her innate spiritual abilities. He concludes that she recognized him through her sleep, prompting Mel to wonder how he deduced the truth. Recalling their first meeting, the Grand Duke notes how poorly she was treated, lacking even basic winter clothing. Mel is touched, realizing her father actually cares for her more than she had initially believed. He gently pats her head, acknowledging the immense suffering she endured before finding her way to him. Overwhelmed by his kindness, Mel's eyes fill with tears as a soft sniff sounds in the quiet room. Sitting together on the sofa, the Grand Duke asks the girl to describe her escape from her former home. Mel excitedly reenacts her flight, boasting about her speed while wondering if her efforts earn her a reward. Held in his lap, she explains her knowledge of the alleyways came from her very third dream. A sharp clap sounds as Mel holds up 4 fingers, correcting her father that she has actually had 4 dreams. A thoughtful escapes him as he realizes her exceptional talent allows her to see the future prematurely. An infographic explains that while most demons mature at 5, Mel's growth has been uniquely delayed. He reassures her that living in the mansion will help her mature quickly, counteracting the energies that held her back. Mel's eyes sparkle with excitement at the prospect of finally growing up and becoming bigger soon. Visualizations show the Devils of the Dream ability, where clarity of vision depends on the strength of one's power. Mel reflects on her unconscious choice of her third dream, which featured a precious gem in a box. She cherishes the dream where her father treats her with an abundance of genuine care and love. In her vision, she rests happily in his arms, feeling secure now that he finally calls her Mel. Night falls over a grand estate where a mysterious message asks about the sudden disappearance of a count. Inside the study, a butler informs a stern, white-haired woman that there is no evidence regarding the matter. A sudden rip echoes as the frustrated woman clutches a document, her anger boiling over the lack of progress. With a fierce expression, she demands an immediate and thorough investigation into Mia's current location. Returning to the Dernevray estate, Tina arrives at a set of large doors carrying a tray of snacks. A creaking squeak sounds as the maid enters the room, cheerfully announcing that it is time for milk. Seeing the Grand Duke present, Tina freezes in a panic, offering a hurried apology before trying to leave. The black-haired man looks on sternly, noting the time and preventing the flustered maid from departing. He explains a tradition regarding female demons and the king's palace, promising to use his power to protect Mel. Mel firmly rejects the idea of moving to an unfamiliar palace, preferring the freedom of her current home. The Grand Duke is pleased when Mel agrees to live with him, securing her future by his side. A bright sparkle surrounds Mel as her father invites her to call him by his true title from now on. Considering his new role as a parent, the Grand Duke suggests giving the girl a proper, formal name. He expresses immediate distaste for her current name, questioning if a Neraphim should name a child of his bloodline. The father decides to ponder her naming more carefully before gently instructing her to get some much-needed rest. He warns her that her dreams are hers alone, a rule all dream demons must strictly follow, which Mel accepts. A sharp click sounds as the girl is left alone in the grand room, her father having finally departed. Mel reflects on the unexpected kindness her father has shown her, finding it wonderful despite her secret, heavy burdens. Despite her growing affection, the girl worries she must eventually depart and reimburse her father for her lavish stay. She debates between her original name and the one her father might give her, hoping both can be accepted. Mel envisions a humble life in a small cottage, finding comfort in the simple idea of owning her own home. A restless rustle sounds as she tosses in bed, realizing her secret request for expensive gems might be excessive. Clutching a glowing blue pendant, the girl wonders about its true value and if it could fund her future independence. Mel suddenly sits up with a look of firm determination, deciding she needs immediate answers about her mysterious blue gem. Moving with a quick scurry, the girl approaches a small table to retrieve a special sweet treat left for her. Mel stares with intense focus, deciding to take the special treat as a heartfelt gift to her busy father. With a determined nod, the girl prepares to leave her room, carefully carrying the pink and white marshmallow treat. In his study, the Grand Duke orders his staff to create a specialized educational tool designed specifically for children. His primary aide, a woman with glasses, reacts with surprise as several other assistants work diligently in the background. He specifies that his daughter will use the tool, prompting the aide to ask for any specific design requirements. The man requests monster-themed toys, believing that early exposure will help her overcome the fear that caused her fainting. When the aide suggests adding gemstones to the solid gold construction, the Duke agrees, noting Mel's fondness for jewels. An infographic reveals the diverse interests of the Duke's children, ranging from literature and weaponry to his own occult hobbies. He resolves to support his daughter's unique interests, whatever they may be, while she rests in a lavish chair. Regarding a recent reward, the Duke orders a safe opened in Mia's name to store the discovered funds securely. The aide is visibly confused when he suggests converting the secure safe room into a nursery for the young girl. He expresses amazement at his daughter's premature and powerful dream ability, much to his assistant's shock and surprise. Comparing Mel's potential to legendary demons, the Duke smiles proudly, though the aide notes he's becoming a doting father. A brief silence falls over the study as the aide and her master share a moment of quiet, shared reflection. The Duke insists his actions are merely those of a responsible parent, though his assistant find his dedication intensely serious. A surprised look crosses the aide's face as she is ordered to schedule an appointment for the neutral zone. Placing a hand on a map, the Duke reflects on his past search for the legendary and elusive Tree of Life. Visuals detail the immense power of the Tree of Life, which is said to reveal the destinies of demon children. To enter the neutral zone and approach the tree, one must first arrange a formal appointment, out of respect. The aide acknowledges the command, preparing to finalize the necessary arrangements for the journey to the sacred tree. Their conversation is interrupted by a soft, polite knock-knock sounding from the heavy doors of the large study. A loud creak sounds as the doors swing open, catching the attention of everyone inside the busy room. Mel shyly peeks through the door, clutching her gift as she asks if she is permitted to enter her father's room. Overwhelmed by cuteness, the aides are suddenly ordered to leave as the Duke's aura becomes dark and intensely possessive. The man approaches as Mel calls out to him with wide, sparkling eyes, her presence lighting up the room. He notices she is holding something, prompting a curious question as he looks down at his tiny, hopeful daughter. Mel presents the treat she saved from her room, explaining she wanted him to have it instead of eating it. A frantic rush sounds as the staff flees, while the glasses-wearing aide cries at the adorable display of affection. Kneeling to her level, a soft thump sounds as the Duke questions why she didn't enjoy the sweet herself. He praises her sweet gesture, admitting the gift looks delicious as a soft smile finally touches his face. The man playfully teases that the treat seems a bit small, leaving the young girl looking slightly confused and surprised. Mel explains that she saved exactly half for him, insisting that even a small portion is plenty for them both. She momentarily wonders if someone named Livius should have had it, her expression turning puzzled as she considers the thought. The Duke takes a small nibble of the treat, declaring that others must ask his daughter for her sweets. He then offers the remaining portion back to her, gently insisting that she enjoy the rest of the tasty sweet. Chewing happily, Mel realizes her father is truly a wonderful person, her heart swelling with newfound joy and security. Night settles over the grand estate, marking the end of the girl's day living under her current name.
Mia, the Grand Duke informs Mel that he will soon acknowledge her as his daughter, but must leave for several days. He warns the young girl that evil insects wander the mansion's halls every night under the cover of darkness. Encouraging her to feel at home, he suggests she sleep in her bed to stay safe from crawling threats. Mel asks if her sudden appearance makes him uncomfortable, but her father dismisses the notion with a steady gaze. He reassures her that her scent proves her lineage, confirming her as a true child of the Durnevry bloodline. The girl asks if she must live in the palace, her mind filled with questions about her future surroundings. He vows to prevent such a fate, while Mel wonders if he is bringing her back to her home. Though she fears causing him trouble, her father calls her name, acknowledging her presence in his protective embrace. Surrounded by soft blossoms, the man reassures Mel that he has no intention of ever chasing her away. Carried through the hallway, Mel softly addresses him as Daddy while the estate's architecture stretches out around them. Looking at the ornate walls, she wonders if a firework demon also resides within the beautiful mansion. Following the warm glow of candlelight, Mel runs toward her father's office with a look of eager determination. The Duke reflects on the history of the house as Mel wonders if she has finally found the right way. Mel thanks her father, feeling the warmth of the environment and wondering if she can truly call it home. Dressed in an elegant blue gown, the young lady looks up with a curious expression as a visitor arrives. Tina happily offers to teach Mel about the demon world, promising to make the lessons easy to follow. Eager to learn, Mel reflects on her previous knowledge of unconditional evil, while Tina thanks her for the opportunity. Using a pyramid, the maid explains the hierarchies and unique traits of high, intermediate, and low-level demons. Tina details the existence of 666 high-level demons, each possessing an exclusive ability that never overlaps with another. Amidst a flowery backdrop, the maid asks Mel if she mentioned the girl's status as the dream demon. Mel learns her father is a deadly demon born on the day of lust, possessing unique demonic traits. Visuals of a red-haired man and a tiger illustrate the immense power of those born on the day of wrath. The girl considers Abel's nature, wondering if something malicious could ever defeat such a formidable and powerful demon. Tina explains that demons have no weaknesses, claiming they are invulnerable, even to the efforts of the Neraphim. The maid expresses a harsh disdain for the Neraphim, labeling them as trash barely superior to ordinary human beings. Distressed by her knowledge, Mel recalls her dream where both she and Abel met a grim, untimely end. Tina reveals her birth on the day of gluttony, explaining her insatiable hunger regardless of how much she consumes. Enjoying her drink, Mel expresses her delight at the treat, her heart lightened by the sweet moment. The lesson is interrupted as Tina announces the brothers' arrival, causing Mel to choke in sheer sudden surprise. Gripped by fear, the girl struggles with the thought of facing her brothers or even looking at their faces. Tina notices the girl's distress, asking if she feels worried about the upcoming meeting with her siblings. The maid offers a comforting reassurance, though Mel remains skeptical of the idea that no demon could hate her. Tina shares how much the other maids adore Mel, describing how they frequently discuss her overwhelming cuteness. Touched by the support, Mel hugs Tina tightly and thanks her for providing the courage she desperately needed. Walking down the grand red staircase, the young lady looks around with a hopeful and confident expression. A sharp call of her name freezes Mel in her tracks, her eyes widening in immediate, palpable shock. At the base of the stairs stands her white-haired aunt, an imposing figure holding a document in the hallway. The aunt's fierce expression demands answers, confronting the girl with a gaze filled with cold, simmering anger. Mel is overcome with terror at her aunt's presence, the memory of her previous home flooding back. The woman mockingly welcomes Mel, the atmosphere shifting as the girl is reminded of Count Avalanche's house. Presenting a letter, the aunt claims the right to inherit and orders Mel to come to her immediately. Mel cowers in fear, terrified of being struck or scratched again by the woman who once tormented her. The aunt grabs Mel's arm, shouting about her being locked up while the girl cries out in pain. Tina suddenly intervenes, shielding the young lady from the aunt's aggressive and cruel treatment.
screaming about her guardianship. The aunt demands they stay out of her way while Mel remains huddled. Shocked, Mel notices blood on Tina's face as the maid continues to protect her from the aunt's wrath. Two butlers arrive to restrain the woman, urging Mel to run away while they hold the intruder back. Mel is overcome with tears and distress, feeling helpless despite her father's words about her dream demon power. Terrified and alone, the girl wonders where she can possibly run to escape her aunt's relentless pursuit. A pair of feet steps into the scene as someone describes the aunt as a truly disgusting person. Abel looms over the trembling aunt, his powerful presence filling the hall as he mockingly comments on her vitality. A sinister grin spreads across Abel's face as he asks the woman if she truly seeks death by coming here. Recognizing the red-haired man, Mel watches in stunned shock, her heart racing as she realizes Abel has finally arrived. Abel steps toward the aunt with a purposeful gait, coldly stating he has no regrets concerning the Neraphim. Abel roughly seizes the silver-haired woman's face, sneering as he questions her foolishness for causing such a scene. Terror consumes the aunt as she struggles against Abel's iron grip, desperately pleading for him to release her. Smiling darkly, Abel expresses his absolute disdain for those who fail to recognize their place among higher-level demons. A sharp ha escapes the woman as Abel exerts his terrifying pressure, causing her to scream in overwhelming agony. Intense flames consume a piece of fabric, a visual testament to the burning intensity of Abel's sudden and violent intervention. Mel cowers behind Tina, closing her eyes tightly to avoid witnessing any more violence or death in the mansion. Abel looks down at the young lady, dismissively referring to her as a cotton ball while questioning her ability to speak. Mel indignantly corrects Abel, asserting her name is Mia, as he continues to playfully mock her small, sweet appearance. Laughing, Abel explains that the Grand Duke is busy at the Tree of Life, prompting his own early return. The butlers bow deeply in apology as Abel reflects on the chaotic scene he discovered upon entering the mansion. Abel turns his fury on the staff, demanding to know why no one stopped the intruder from harming his family. Calling out to the maid, Abel's intense gaze fixates on Tina as she huddles protectively near the young lady. Abel harshly rebukes Tina for her weakness, callously suggesting that death is the only option for those who cannot protect. He continues his tirade, warning of the dire consequences if the Duke's first daughter were to be truly harmed. Suddenly finding her voice, Mel shouts a command for Abel to stop his verbal assault on the terrified maid. Mel fiercely defends Tina, arguing that being weak is not a sin, and that the maid performed her duties bravely. Tears of anger well in Mel's eyes as she calls Abel a moron, refusing to back down from his intimidation. A memory of her past life surfaces. Mel reflects on her time as a weakling, determinedly noting that she never made mistakes despite her lack of power. Seeing the girl's distress, Abel's tone softens slightly as he awkwardly attempts to comfort her and stop her crying. Abel yields to her demands, admitting that weakness might not be a sin, though he remains visibly skeptical. Mel refuses to relent, loudly demanding that the red-haired man apologize to Tina for his cruel and tyrannical behavior. The hallway echoes with Mel's shouting as she continues to label Abel a tyrant, shocking everyone in the room. Abel mumbles to himself in disbelief, clearly taken aback by the young girl's audacity to call him a tyrant. With a defiant huff, Mel sticks her tongue out at Abel, firmly siding with Tina against his harsh words. Mel wonders at her own bravery, questioning if her lack of fear stems from the nightmare she had of Abel. Yielding to the girl's pressure, Abel offers a blunt apology to Tina, who humbly accepts his prior harsh judgment. Abel watches the girl with a pensive look, noting that her fiery spirit will need to be carefully managed. A soft hic sounds as Mel suddenly hiccups, her intense anger momentarily interrupted by the unexpected and tiny sound. Overcome with emotion, Tina weeps with joy, thanking the young lady for standing up to protect a lowly servant. The other servants join in the emotional display, moved to tears by Mel's unprecedented kindness and protective nature. Confused by the sudden outpouring of emotion, Mel pats Tina's back, wondering why everyone in this house cries so easily. Mel tries to focus on medical care, asking for treatment as a confused Tina struggles to understand the concept.
The young lady attempts to explain bandages and medicine, but her words are met with blank stares and confusion. Mel frantically asks about doctors or hospitals, realizing with growing horror that the servants have no idea what she means. The butlers whisper among themselves, completely baffled by Mel's questions regarding pharmacies and medical professionals in the demon world. Mel's shock deepens as she asks what they do when they fall ill, only to receive a chilling response. The servants matter-of-factly state that demons simply die if they are sick, leaving Mel frozen in absolute terrified silence. Horrified by the lack of medical knowledge, Mel realizes that life in this mansion is far more dangerous than expected. Mel's desperate cry for her father echoes through the estate as she reflects on the bizarre and lethal demon logic. Having applied crude bandages herself, Mel watches as the servants cheer for her heart heavy despite their praise. The butlers share a light-hearted moment, their spirits lifted by the young lady's unusual but caring medical interventions. Mel asks why such a grand mansion has no bodyguards, noting how easily her aunt managed to enter the estate. Visuals recall the aunt's effortless intrusion, highlighting the unusual lack of security for such a prestigious demonic household. Tina explains that bodyguards were never necessary, leaving Mel to ponder the reason behind such a bold and risky policy. Tina explains they were careless due to the family's strength, suggesting the young lady might need a bodyguard. Visualizing Abel's power, Mel remembers how effortlessly her brother handled the silver-haired woman during her intrusion. The purple-haired girl resolves to get stronger, frustrated by her past helplessness and the need to endure suffering. Tina reassures the young lady that 10 nights of sleep are all she needs to reach maturity. Mel clutches her chest, worried she will be outdated after her long slumber and unable to face her aunt. Desperate to become a strong demon, Mel suddenly feels a wave of dizziness as her body begins to tremble. The young lady collapses, her vision blurring as she falls toward the arms of the concerned maid. Panic strikes Tina as she discovers the girl's body is burning hot, though Mel weakly insists she is fine. Tina's frantic cries for help echo as the young lady loses consciousness entirely, resting her head on the sofa. Plunged into a dream, Mel recalls the shadowy figures of her aunt and a large man from her past home. The young lady sits on the polished floor in a pink dress, bewildered as she wonders where she has arrived. Still sitting on the floor, the purple-haired girl looks around the grand, empty hallway with a confused expression. Walking toward a bright doorway, Mel finds herself entering a grand ballroom filled with guests in formal attire. Surrounded by faceless figures, the young girl realizes she is caught in the grip of another vivid, haunting dream. Mel's gold eyes shimmer as she considers choosing a life in Heaven Island over the misery she has endured. Overhearing whispers from the shadows, the young lady listens as figures discuss a plot to kidnap young girls. Terrified by the mention of kidnapping, Mel wonders who these men are and how they plan to carry it out. The young lady sneaks away, hoping to gather more useful information about this dark vision of the future. Her stealth is short-lived as she is suddenly discovered by two men, one gasping in shock at her presence. A large, menacing hand reaches out toward the screen as the young lady looks on with wide, fearful eyes. A horse rears against a background of orange flames, as Mel realizes she has transitioned into yet another dream. A spear bearing a red flag stands against a smoke-filled sky, a grim omen of the coming conflict. Chaos erupts as soldiers clash on a fiery battlefield, while the young lady's desperate screams for her father ring out. The red-haired Abel appears in a black military uniform, his face urgent as he tells Pompon to run away. Abel urges the girl to flee as death begins to spread uncontrollably, despite her tearful refusal to leave him. Mel witnesses a hooded figure standing over a chained man, realizing her family was not the cause of this disaster. Tears stream down the young lady's face as she cries out for her father in the midst of the destruction. Abel stands with a massive, flaming tiger spirit snarling behind him, his expression filled with cold, intense anger. The butler in glosses is gripped by terror, calling out the name of Sir Abel as he faces the man's fury. Worried he has made a mistake, the butler reflects on his unfinished work regarding a specific diamond case. A humorous scene unfolds as the giant flaming tiger seizes the flailing butler by his coat to carry him away. Abel stands on the staircase as the butler bows deeply, the
the flaming tiger still looming overhead in the grand hall. The red-haired man demands to know why the butler left his post while the Grand Duke was away. Sweat drops form on the butler's head as he observes that both Abel and his divine beast look incredibly unhappy. Noticing Tina swaying in the background, the butler wonders if something has happened to the young lady. Abel acknowledges the butler's observation and commands him to follow as they head to check on Mel. Using a glowing yellow spell, the butler treats the sleeping girl while Abel watches with a stern, protective gaze. The young lady sleeps peacefully in her bed, the prior fever seemingly broken as she rests in the mansion. Tina announces that the fever has gone, and Abel orders the staff to accompany him outside for new instructions. A small chibi Mel stands in the hallway, shouting a defiant label of tyrants at her brothers. Abel finds the situation amusing, clearly intrigued by the idea of a younger sister who dares to command him. Turning to the maid, Abel asks Tina about her mechanical skills, which she humbly admits are still developing. Abel orders Tina to set mines throughout the bedroom corridors, ensuring only authorized people can reach his sister. Imagining a suitor being blown up, Abel determines that any boy singing beneath Mel's window will meet a swift end. The red-haired man questions a blonde butler's combat skills, ordering him to protect Mel with his very life. Abel commands a maid to bring him a daily portrait of his sister, ensuring he remains connected to her. Though he once thought a sister would be bothersome, Abel realizes he is now committed to her safety. A dark look crosses Abel's face as he vows that no lover will ever touch even his sister's heel. The servants erupt in competitive loyalty, with one maid even offering to be a literal carpet for her lady. Mel wakes up in bed with a sudden, sharp huff, her eyes wide with the intensity of her recent visions. Mel looks shaken, pondering if the strange dreams represent a dark future she must desperately avoid. Mel wakes up in bed, confused by the large sleeping tiger lying right beside her. A soft zzz sounds as the giant tiger snores peacefully, its tail flicking, while Mel watches with curious eyes. Seeing the flaming beast's cute sleeping face, Mel squeals in delight at how adorable the creature is. Grinning, the young lady cuddles the massive cat, wondering where such a huge and cute pet came from. A bright light suddenly flashes from the bedside table, startling Mel as she pulls back from the tiger. Mel realizes this is the same beast that showed her to her father's room during her first night. Grrr! The tiger purrs loudly as Mel laughs, thanking the creature for its prior help and protection. The giant beast nudges Mel toward the pillows, seemingly encouraging the tired girl to go back to sleep. Grrr! Excitedly, Mel decides they should sleep together, and she snuggles back into the soft pink covers. Mel drifts back to sleep, feeling incredibly safe and warm against the large, protective body of the beast. The scene shifts to night outside the castle as a red-haired man walks along the high stone balcony. Abel looks over as the flaming tiger, Aiton, reports that Mel briefly woke up before falling asleep again. Abel affectionately pets Aiton, expressing relief that everything is well with his younger sister's condition. On the moonlit balcony, Abel chuckles and teases the powerful divine beast by still calling him a mere cat. Two new servants, the orange-haired Ben and the maid Doria, introduce themselves with wide, cheerful smiles. Mel asks about Tina, and Ben explains the maid is taking 4 days off to fully recover. Ben and Doria explain that lower-level demons heal faster, making Mel realize Tina accepted her help out of kindness. While Doria combs her hair, Mel worries that she might eventually become a burden or annoy her new servants. Doria reassures the young lady that Tina is grateful, explaining that high-level demons actually have weaker healing abilities. As Doria continues, Mel imagines two sophisticated demons who apparently require middle-class demons for healing. Mel listens intently to the explanation about Sir Livius, the non-binary demon renowned for his exceptional healing magic. Abel bursts into the room with a cheerful greeting, playfully calling his younger sister Fluffy as he enters. Furiously, Mel shouts that she isn't Fluffy, while Abel laughs and teases her about her cute, childish pronunciation. Abel leans in, complimenting Mel's gorgeous new outfit while she remains huffy about his persistent teasing. Mel pouts, feeling complicated because Abel keeps making fun of her despite his obvious care and attention. The servants present a lavish feast, including steak and strawberry pancakes, much to Mel's wide-eyed amazement. A butler weeps with pride as Mel eats his cooking, leaving the young lady baffled by his intense emotion. Abel notices Mel's hesitation and suggests they go out together, though the young lady quickly denies being bored. Leaning on his hand, Abel asks what she dislikes, as Mel insists she simply doesn't want to go out. Mel points out that there is already excellent food at home, clearly wanting to avoid any unnecessary risks. Abel tempts her with descriptions of exotic pastries and scones found only outside the mansion's walls. Mel is momentarily distracted by the mention of sweets, but firmly cites scary people as her reason for staying. Abel asks if someone has scared her, causing Mel to flinch as her past traumas briefly resurface. A dark, fiery aura surrounds Abel as he listens to his sister's fears, his expression becoming cold and dangerous. Noticing his shift, Mel nervously asks if he is angry, sensing the sudden change in the room's atmosphere. Abel quickly forces a bright laugh, dismissing her concerns and claiming he has no reason to be angry. Abel vows to prevent any humans from getting close to her, his protective instincts flaring up again. Mel looks at him skeptically, wondering if there is anything else behind his sudden urge to go out. Abel laughs off the tension and insists they leave, causing Mel to let out a surprised little gasp. While Mel is genuinely curious about the world outside, she remains deeply hesitant to leave her safe haven. Abel finally breaks her resolve by promising to buy her a hairpin with sparkling gems during their trip. At the mention of gems, Mel's eyes light up and she excitedly agrees to go on the outing immediately. Abel is momentarily stunned by how quickly the mention of jewels changed his sister's mind. Mel beams with happiness, regretting that Abel didn't mention the gems earlier to avoid all the drama. Abel labels her a mundane, which confuses Mel until he explains it's a compliment for being clever. Ben adds that mundane is a compliment in the demon world, referring to someone who calculates benefits. A vision shows a romantic couple, with Ben explaining the term is even used affectionately in relationships. Mel listens as Ben explains that demons find charm in those who can manipulate situations for their own advantage. The scene transitions to a grand carriage traveling along a tree-lined dirt path toward the city. Inside the carriage, Mel asks Abel about his strength, wondering if he is powerful enough to handle an earl. Abel asks if he appears weak to her, while Mel nervously attempts to clarify her innocent question about his power. Abel explains his 37th rank demon status and proudly pats Mel's head, noting his impressive achievements for his young age. Mel asks about their father's strength and inquires about Cayenne, a brother she has never actually met before. Striking a thoughtful pose, the red-haired Abel calls Cayenne incredible, leaving Mel to ponder in nervous curiosity. Abel describes Cayenne's rapid growth and top 10 rank, imagining the elegant demon of darkness holding a decorative fan. Mel asks for a physical description of Cayenne, but Abel insists she should simply meet the best demon later. Holding up 2 fingers, Abel reveals their father is ranked 2nd, while the king of demons holds the 1st rank. Mel is shocked to learn demons have a king, leading Abel to explain the Neraphims and their distant air island. Proclaiming himself her teacher for the day, Abel prepares to explain the 3-part division of their world's history. A map illustrates the 3 realms: the demon world, the divine world of Neraphims, and the human middle world. Scenes of lightning and destruction depict the catastrophic war that devastated both the demon and divine worlds 7,000 years ago. Abel explains that survivors gathered at the Tree of Life to forge a peace contract and end the eternal fighting. Visuals show the middle world expanding into the current world as Mel reflects on the tragedy of the ancient conflict. Abel describes the Neraphim's migration to a floating island as their nature prevented them from ever touching the ground. A massive tree stands atop a floating island, representing the place where belief and followers grant the Neraphim's strength. Abel explains that despite being high-class demons, they chose to live among humans rather than acting with typical arrogance. Abel reveals that female demons naturally dominate the rankings, holding the top spots for 7,000 years without interruption. Mel wonders if she will eventually surpass Abel, while he teases her about her cute and childish speech patterns. Determined to grow up quickly, Mel vows to become stronger than her brother so she can protect him one day. Arriving at their destination, Abel leads a cheering Mel toward a lavish gem shop, promising her anything she desires. Mel suddenly panics as they walk through town, realizing with a shocked gasp that she has forgotten her log. Mel explains that the log is her friend, leaving the bewildered red-haired man to question why she befriended Wood. Abel suggests buying a superior log gem to replace her friend, which leaves Mel wondering what such a jewel is.
Excited by the prospect of a gem-crafted log, Mel bids a mental farewell to her old friend before entering. A blonde employee, Philip, enthusiastically welcomes Abel and Mel into the grand, well-lit jewelry store with a wide smile. Philip and another staff member fawn over the lovely Mel, while Abel states his intention to buy her a gift. Philip dramatically praises Mel's radiant beauty, introducing himself as a human employee under the Great Duke's esteemed protection. Abel chuckles as Mel asks if Philip's name is human, finding her literal interpretation of the employee's introduction hilarious.
Kneeling to her level, Philip officially introduces himself, while Mel offers her own name in return with a smile. Abel gestures toward rows of shimmering jewelry boxes, inviting Mel to choose any gem that catches her eye.
While examining the jewels, Mel privately reflects that they look old-fashioned despite their obvious luxury and gorgeous shine. Abel watches with a smug, expectant smile as Mel considers picking one simply because he offered to buy it.
Mel's eyes widen in awe at a stunning white Pegasus figurine contained within an ornate glass-domed jewelry box.
Pointing toward the winged horse, Mel makes her choice, causing Abel to look over in surprise at her selection. Philip leans in to whisper to Abel that the tiny Pegasus figurine is actually the most expensive item available. Abel is visibly impressed by Mel's sharp intuition, noting that she has a truly smart eye for high-quality character. Mel asks why the small figurine is so expensive, as Philip prepares to explain the magical origin of the item. Philip explains that the horse was crafted by a high-class devil and contains a portion of that devil's own power. Abel explains that demons channel power into compatible gems, mentioning that his own specific compatible jewel is the ruby. Mel looks up at her brother with a curious stare, causing Abel to ask what is wrong with his sister. Mel's bluntness stuns Abel as she asks if he is unable to channel power into gems like other powerful demons. Abel reacts with comic fury to the insult, while a huffy Mel definitively labels him as being really weak. Pointing aggressively at Philip, the red-haired man orders the staff to bring the shop's most expensive ruby jewelry immediately. Abel frantically tries to prove his strength, while Mel smugly observes how easily her brother can be manipulated. Mel admires the Pegasus, thinking that the demon who created such a beautiful item must also be quite attractive themselves. Closing her eyes, Mel snuggles the box, detecting a sweet honey scent and noticing shimmering golden petals inside. A dark, intense aura surrounds Abel as he glares at Philip, who begins to sweat under the man's terrifying gaze. Abel pins Philip against the wall, demanding he keep it a secret that his sister bought an item from another family. Abel threatens Philip with death if the secret leaks, grumbling about Mel choosing an item with the power of temptation. An ornate chart outlines the demon world's hierarchy, detailing the Grand Duke House and competing Duke Houses with their unique animal symbols. The red-haired Abel stares forward with cold, focused intensity, determined to keep a certain man away from his younger sister. Mel waits impatiently on a pink sofa as Abel finally enters the room, her small face scrunched up in an annoyed pout. Abel nonchalantly takes a seat opposite Mel, dismissing her complaints with a casual wave as they begin their private conversation. Abel's sharp red eyes narrow as he suddenly detects a sweet, lingering scent permeating the air around his younger sister. Leaning back with an exhausted sigh, Abel claims to have a headache while Mel watches him with wide, concerned eyes. Mel looks on in confusion as narrative boxes explain the dangers of her scent and the protections prepared for her safety.
A mischievous grin spreads across Abel's face while Philip stands ready behind him, the demon brother vowing to protect Mel fiercely.
Abel holds up a shimmering gold ornament, urging Mel to look closely at the rare and precious item he is presenting. Pointing sharply, Abel commands Philip to turn around and close his eyes so he can demonstrate a secret to his sister. A small flame flickers on Abel's fingertip as he explains how demons condense their elemental power into compatible, high-quality gemstones. Focused on the task, Abel prepares to channel his fiery essence directly into the gem to create a powerful magical artifact. Mel watches in total amazement as Abel successfully infuses the ornament with his power, causing the jewel to glow brilliantly. Excitedly, Mel asks if she can perform the same magic once she grows up, while Abel explains the necessity of awakening. Cradling the warm gem in her small hands, Mel marvels at the comforting heat, a stark contrast to her previous life. Abel formally gifts the infused keepsake to Mel, explaining that his protective firepower is now permanently stored within the item. Overwhelmed with gratitude, Mel closes her eyes and smiles brightly while clutching the precious gift tightly against her chest. Abel boisterously orders Philip to bring every suitable hairpin in the shop, causing the blonde employee to dash off in a hurry. A tray filled with sparkling hairpins is presented, though Mel secretly worries that gems aren't as practical as cold, hard cash. Mel's eyes light up as she points to a vibrant blue butterfly ornament, declaring it her favorite among all the jewels. Abel questions her choice because it lacks a gem, but Mel pragmatically argues that timeless style and cash value are more important.
Smirking with pride, Abel labels her a mundane person just like their father, a title Mel happily and proudly accepts.
Philip stands by looking utterly bewildered by the siblings' strange conversation regarding mundane values and the commonality of butterfly symbols. Pointing to a large wall crest, Abel explains that the butterfly is the official symbol of their prestigious Durndiver family line. Abel lists several other demonic clans and their symbols, leaving Mel looking dazed and overwhelmed by the sudden history lesson. Laughing heartily, Abel pats Mel's head and tells her not to worry, insisting that their family name is the only important one. Mel tries with all her might to memorize the names of the rival clans Abel mentioned, her small face tensed with effort. Mel celebrates a small victory when she realizes she can easily remember the name Belzebut due to its simple, fun pronunciation. Holding her brother's hand, a beaming Mel prepares to leave the shop while clutching her new treasures with pure, unadulterated joy. Walking alongside her brother, Mel reflects on how exciting her new life has become, surrounded by wonder and beautiful things. A gentle smile plays on Philip's lips as he watches the siblings depart, feeling satisfied with the day's successful business. From the shadows of the shop, Philip observes the pair, noting with a quiet, that the unicorn has found its owner. Colorful illustrations and title cards introduce a romantic tale about a childhood friend becoming an obsessive husband, bridging the story gap. Mel blinks in surprise as a large, gentle hand reaches down to pat her head, pulling her from her quiet thoughts. Mel's father, the dark-haired Duke, enters the room, prompting the young girl to leap up and greet him with excitement. Mel throws herself into her father's arms for a hug while he apologizes for his long absence and busy schedule. The Duke expresses regret for not being there to protect her, but a resilient Mel insists she is perfectly fine now. Gently patting her head, the Duke praises his daughter for her bravery and kindness, his expression softening with genuine paternal affection. The Duke suggests a trip to the Tree of Life in 2 days to finally determine Mel's official birth date. Mel hugs her father's leg with pure delight, thrilled by the prospect of going on another adventure with her powerful parent. Standing before a vision of a massive tree, the Duke explains that she might summon a lifelong soulmate or guardian spirit. Mel listens intently as her father promises that a soulmate will protect her from any future threats from the Neraphims. Massive, glowing blue butterfly wings suddenly sprout from behind the Duke's back, filling the room with a brilliant, magical light. The Duke introduces Hela, a stunning fairy with fiery hair and shimmering wings, revealing her as his own destined soulmate. Mel gazes upward in awe, finally understanding the true origin and significance of their family's iconic butterfly symbol. With a wide smile and open arms, the young Mel offers a cheerful greeting to the beautiful, ethereal fairy standing before her. Mel continues to wave and smile at Hela, her eyes sparkling with curiosity about the magical being her father summoned. The Duke explains that soulmates are mysterious beings from another universe who possess the unique ability to speak their language. Mel's eyes glow with hope as she imagines meeting her own soulmate to gain a permanent sense of security and protection. Visions of Mel's past traumas and shackled figures flicker as she resolves to meet her father for more answers about her future. Holding Mel close, the Duke explains that soulmates communicate through minds, despite speaking different languages. Hela smiles brightly as the Duke translates her thoughts, revealing she finds the young girl super adorable.
A joyful hee-hee escapes Mel as she cheers, waving her arms and praising the fairy's radiant beauty. With a gentle thud sounding, the Duke carefully lowers Mel back onto her soft pink bed. Mel watches her father with wide eyes, worrying internally that her excited behavior might have seemed rude. Tucking her in, the Duke tells Mel to rest while she sleepily promises to drift off immediately. Nestled in her blankets, Mel reflects on the family's kindness, fearing she is forgetting her proper etiquette. The Duke smiles warmly, patting her head and declaring it the family's greatest joy to serve her. A soft Z comes from the sleeping girl, as her father reassures her there is nothing to fear. A sudden creak sounds as Abel enters, prompting the Duke to sharply shush him and demand he leave. Walking together, Abel asks about his other brother, whom the Duke confirms is still doing perfectly fine. Abel expresses his longing to see his brother again, prompting the Duke to mention a future family gathering. With a frustrated grumble, Abel complains about the murderous glares his brother always sends in his direction. Abel animatedly recounts their last conversation while his dark-haired brother stands silently in the hazy background. Staring forward with a flat expression, the Duke privately concludes that neither of his sons are truly cute. Ornate panels depict the Duke's childhood, detailing how his terrifying death power frequently erupted beyond his control. As Mel hugs his leg, the Duke notes how much more comfortable she is around him than his sons. Watching her walk away, the Duke feels a surge of protective worry about the dangers she previously faced. Surrounded by blooming roses, Mel's beaming smile reinforces the Duke's belief that his daughter is truly adorable. Lifting Mel toward the clouds with a wah of delight, the Duke vows to monopolize her infectious cuteness. Back in the Grand Hall, the Duke scolds Abel for taking Mel out without his express permission. The Duke commands Abel to capture a Minotauros, leaving the red-haired son baffled by the sudden, strange order. Desiring a vitality pill for Mel, the Duke dismisses Abel's protests with a cold, authoritative stare. Abel mentions playing with Downey, confusing the Duke, who has never heard that particular nickname before. Abel smugly reveals Downey is his special name for Mel, causing the Duke's face to darken with jealousy. Hela appears behind the Duke, her expression mirroring his cold fury as they prepare to confront Abel. With a fierce roar sounding, Abel summons a massive flaming tiger spirit to counter his father's overwhelming pressure. A massive boom echoes as their powers clash, a butterfly-winged fairy facing off against a fiery tiger. Glaring at his son, the Duke considers sending Abel away to a demon farm to keep him occupied. The conversation turns serious as Abel asks about the Neraphim family's recent visit regarding guardianship. Abel suggests the Neraphims have lived too long as a violent whoosh signals the start of his retribution. Screams of kya fill the air as Abel smiles, strolling through the burning wreckage of the Neraphim estate. Guards brandish swords, denouncing Abel as a cruel devil for bringing destruction upon their sacred house. Mocking their claims of innocence, Abel waves them away, determined to find the room where his sister suffered. A massive whoosh of flame erupts, incinerating the fleeing guards as Abel marches deeper into the burning mansion. Standing amidst the inferno, Abel's cold gaze remains fixed on finding the truth behind his sister's past. The Duke arrives, suggesting the final room in the hallway holds the answers they are searching for. Reaching into a dark corner, the Duke opens a heavy wooden door with a sharp slide sound. Stepping into the ruins, the Duke asks in disbelief if Mel truly lived in such a wretched place. Abel moves toward a pile of papers scattered across the floor of the dark, stone-walled room. A sharp gasp escapes Abel as he picks up a note, his eyes widening at the disturbing contents. The paper reveals a horrific message. "I am the daughter who killed my mother," leaving both men stunned. With a soft flutter, hundreds of similar papers fall, all repeating the same tragic and self-loathing mantra. Deeply shaken, the Duke and Abel exchange a look of shared grief and burgeoning, icy rage. Recalling his interrogation of Count Avalanche, the Duke remembers the cruel stories of Mia's birth and mistreatment. Surrounded by the heartbreaking evidence of her trauma, the two men stand in the center of the ruined room. Abel turns to his father with a chillingly polite smile, asking if they can dispense with any kindness. The Duke's face hardens with a terrifying resolve, his eyes glowing with the promise of absolute destruction. Swirling blue shadows fill the frame, embodying the eternal fear of death that now haunts the Neraphim lineage. The mansion becomes a burning cage, destined to repeat a cycle of death and rebirth in agonizing eternity. As the morning sun filters through her window, a narration box announces today's long-awaited journey to the Tree of Life. Fast asleep, Mel senses a watchful presence as a nearby voice whispers about how incredibly adorable she looks while resting. Mel feels like an artist's model as Tina, Ben, and a blonde maid excitedly sketch her while she sleeps. Still nestled in her blankets, the purple-haired girl shifts slightly while the enthusiastic staff continues their quiet, adoring observation. Tina and Ben lose all composure over Mel's tiny, precious legs, expressing a desperate, comedic urge to touch them. Unable to bear the intense staring any longer, Mel wakes up as Tina cheerfully announces her return from vacation. A relieved Mel welcomes Tina back, while the dark-haired maid laughs and thanks the young lady for her kindness. Ben rushes off to inform the Duke of Mel's awakening, while Tina prepares a warm bath for the girl. A sudden click sounds as the door shuts, leaving Mel alone until a rolled-up paper falls from the table. Curiosity piqued, Mel hops off her soft bed to investigate the mysterious scroll that just tumbled onto the floor. The young girl picks up the paper, her large orange eyes widening in surprise at the artwork she just found. Mel admires the beautiful drawing of herself, feeling flattered that she looks like a pretty little angel, or perhaps a demon. A loud thud echoes as Mel accidentally falls, prompting a panicked Tina to burst back into the room with water. Clutching her head in pain, Mel tries to stay brave while Tina frantically worries about the extent of her injury. Panic spreads through the hallway as the butlers drop their trays, terrified by the news that the young lady is hurt. While Mel tries to downplay the small bump on her head, Tina runs to fetch Mr. Livius for immediate help. A group of frantic butlers bursts into the room, shouting absurd concerns about cracked ribs and serious internal injuries. The servants crowd around the bed in a comedic frenzy, questioning if the bewildered Mel is even still breathing. Tina forcefully clears a path through the panicked men, demanding they all get out of the way immediately. Cradling the girl, Tina offers gentle comfort while promising that the doctor, Mr. Livius, is on his way to help. Tina smugly gloats to the jealous butlers, relishing the fact that she is the only one allowed to carry Mel. Dressed in his pajamas and nightcap, Mr. Livius arrives instantly, correcting Tina by stating he is already there. The pajama-clad man carefully examines Mel's forehead, dramatically worrying that a simple bump could be a traumatic brain injury. Mel closes her eyes in embarrassment, wishing the staff would stop overreacting to the small red mark on her forehead. A sharp, escapes Mr. Livius as he notices something unexpected while inspecting the young girl's injury. Tension fills the air as Mel worries she is in big trouble, noting the doctor's suddenly serious and focused expression. Mr. Livius reveals the truth behind the mark, announcing to the shocked Tina that Mel is growing her own horns. Mel's eyes sparkle with wonder as she imagines a colorful horn, trying to process the news of her demonic manifestation. The butlers cheer outside the door, celebrating the monumental appearance of the horn marks on their young lady. The Duke enters the room with a commanding presence, prompting an excited Mel to reach out and call for him. Lifting his daughter with care, the Duke confirms the news that her official horn marks have finally appeared. A subtle, tender smile touches the Duke's face as he gazes at Mel, his usual coldness melting away for her. Dressed in his finest attire, the Duke declares today a formal day of celebration for the prestigious Dern-de-Vray family line. A gentle hand rests on Mel's head as her father reassures her that everything is perfectly all right now. Surrounded by vibrant flowers, Mel stands dressed in a beautiful red gown, while Tina praises her stunning appearance. Mel asks if such celebrations are common, and Tina confirms that her brothers also had special days for their marks. Tina notes how especially happy the Duke seems, mentioning he even grinned at Mel's undeniable cuteness earlier. Ben hands the young lady her favorite unicorn toy, Pony, as she prepares to depart for the Tree of Life. A voice calls Mel Furball, advising her to remain respectful and bow her head once they reach their destination.
Mel pushes open the carriage door with a determined expression, announcing to everyone that she is finally finished dressing. Abel stands waiting by the carriage, his red hair vibrant as he greets his sister with a confident smile. Looking at her brother's handsome outfit, Mel curiously asks Abel if many people find him charming and attractive. Abel boasts with a laugh, claiming his charm is as essential and ever-present as the very air they breathe. Mel looks at her brother with deep pity, hilariously misinterpreting his boast to mean he actually has no charm at all. As the carriage rolls toward the neutral zone, Mel wonders aloud if the Neraphims will be present at the ceremony. Abel explains the power of the Tree of Life, describing how it protects the land from war with its massive branches. Mel listens intently as Abel describes the Tree of Life as a unique and powerful entity from another universe. Mel's heart grows heavy with worry, fearing the holy tree might reject her for her mixed demonic lineage. Feeling the weight of her past, Mel wishes she could be loved forever, secretly fearing she is being too greedy. The carriage travels deep into the forest as Mel mentally pleads for the Tree of Life to accept her presence. Mel looks on with a determined gaze as the carriage finally nears its long-awaited holy destination. Excited by the lush greenery outside, the young girl peers out the window with a joyful shout of "Wah!" The massive Tree of Life comes into view, its immense scale leaving Mel completely awestruck and breathless. Noticing a glowing leaf drifting nearby, Mel curiously wonders why the foliage is shimmering so brilliantly. Abel catches a leaf, explaining that these magical plants absorb every color in the world, like living prisms. The Duke offers the glowing leaf to his daughter, warmly telling her she is free to keep it. Mel is surprised by the leaf's unexpected texture, noting its incredible softness as she clutches it tightly. Turning to her father, the purple-haired girl excitedly announces she has come up with a brilliant new idea. Mel suggests selling the magical leaves as business items, her eyes sparkling with a sudden, sharp entrepreneurial spirit. Abel breaks into uncontrollable laughter at her suggestion, while Mel reacts with an adorable, indignant shout of protest. Teasing her mercilessly, Abel jokes that she is the only devil in history to prioritize profit over holy wonder. Abel mocks her financial focus, leaving Mel to wonder if his teasing words were meant as a genuine compliment. The Duke shocks Mel by casually mentioning that many major firms are already owned by their prestigious family. Praising her keen instincts, the Duke explains why collecting the leaves would indeed result in absolute, effortless profit. Mel explains she actually wanted to make pretty ornaments, though the Duke remains impressed by her hidden talents. Flustered by her father's serious business inquiry, Mel wonders if she is truly ready to run an enterprise. Realizing her father genuinely supports her ambitions without judgment, Mel feels a warm wave of safety and love. Determined to prove her worth, Mel declares she will try her best to become a truly useful child. Stepping out into the neutral zone, the family is greeted by a monk in long, ash-gray robes. The Duke explains their purpose for visiting, seeking to certify the important date of his young daughter's birth. Abel points out the various monks training nearby, teaching Mel about the different residents of this sacred area. Spotting members of the Nephirim family approaching from the right, Abel's expression sours with immediate, visible annoyance. A sudden realization strikes Mel as she spots another group on the left, her eyes widening in surprise. Mel's attention is captured by a blonde boy dressed in a magnificent white cloak standing among the greenery. The blonde-haired boy gazes back, his face partially obscured by the hood of his ornate, star-adorned outfit. Pressing a finger to his lips with a shh, the boy offers a secretive smile that leaves Mel puzzled. A monk motions for Mel to proceed alone, directing the young lady toward the next stage of the ceremony. Mel looks back for reassurance, and her father gives a gentle nod to encourage her to step forward. Walking toward the designated area, the purple-haired girl remains alert to her beautiful, sun-drenched surroundings. A sudden, sharp thud echoes as a blonde boy aggressively shoves Mel aside to take her place. The arrogant boy demands to go first, proudly boasting about his high status as a noble Hyriel descendant. Looming over the brat, the Duke and Abel radiate an icy, terrifying pressure that leaves the boy sweating. Mel holds her hand up, telling her family to stay back as she decides to handle the bully herself. The blonde boy's parents look on with smug satisfaction, clearly unimpressed by the young demon girl standing before them. Calling out to the boy with a blunt "hey," Mel successfully catches his attention and sparks his immediate outrage. Undeterred by his anger, Mel looks him in the eye, ready to confront his blatant rudeness and entitlement. Mel demands a sincere apology, but the blonde boy merely scoffs at her seemingly strange and accented speech. The arrogant child blames the monks for his delay, insisting that demons should never have been allowed in first. Mel is completely fed up with his excuses about being late, her patience wearing thin as he continues whining. The blonde boy hurls a final insult at Mel, calling her stupid simply because of her demonic lineage. Snapping back, Mel points out his own stupidity for being 30 minutes late and lacking any basic punctuality. Realizing a verbal argument won't get her kicked out, Mel decides it is time to escalate her response. The boy continues to complain about his turn, unaware that he has pushed the young lady far too far. With a powerful boom, Mel delivers a swift, decisive kick that sends the arrogant blonde boy flying backward. The boy lands face first on the ground as Mel sticks out her tongue, relishing her. Horrified by the sudden violence, the blonde parents rush toward their son as blood begins to drip from his nose. The blonde couple shouts in fury, denouncing Mel as a violent demon and refusing to forgive her actions. Stepping in to protect Mel, the Duke reminds the parents that their son was the one who attacked first. The blonde man freezes in terror as he finally recognizes the overwhelming, deadly aura of Grand Duke Durndever. Cradling Mel, the Duke demands an immediate apology, threatening the family with severe consequences back on Air Island. A blonde woman orders Maximilian to apologize, but the boy indignantly asks why he should respect a demon. Maximilian protests that someone as honorable as himself should never bow, while the Duke and Abel watch coldly. The blonde father bows deeply, offering a sincere apology to the Duke for his son's aggressive behavior. Mel tells the bowing man it is fine, privately hiding the fact that she briefly considered much darker retaliation. Turning her back on the confrontation, Mel decides she is no longer interested in dealing with the arrogant boy. Surprising everyone, Mel tells Maximilian that she is also sorry, leaving the blonde boy completely speechless and confused. Mel points out the boy's nosebleed and asks if it's painful, startling him with her sudden and blunt concern. The Duke ruthlessly insults the Hyreal lineage, claiming Maximilian lacks the divine power to ever hold a prestigious rank. Maximilian looks at his mother with a saddened expression, as Mel watches the family dynamic with a quiet gaze. Not wanting to see the mother cry, Mel urges her father to continue toward the Tree of Life instead. Mel skips toward a glowing emerald gateway in the forest as a magical shh sound ripples through the air. A voice explains that Mel must reach out her hand to speak with the tree, and she curiously complies. The gargantuan Tree of Life towers over the young girl, its ancient branches shimmering with a powerful, divine energy. Mel hears the voices of the forest calling her a cute girl as she presses her hand against the bark. The tree laughs warmly, finding Mel's demonic nature a charming match as she wonders if she is truly adorable. Mel asks the tree if she can have a soulmate, and the entity encourages her to share her true desires. The Tree of Life explains that a demon's soulmate is manifested based on the specific power the demon possesses. Since her family holds the power of death, the tree reveals that Mel's soulmate will possess the power of dreams. Mel closes her eyes and focuses her energy as a soft, magical light begins to swirl around her small frame. Suddenly, Mel finds herself floating atop a fluffy white cloud within a sparkling, pastel-colored dreamscape of endless sky. Realizing she is in the space where soulmates reside, Mel curiously decides to explore the vibrant, cloud-filled world. With a joyful skip, Mel hops across the massive clouds, delighted by the ethereal beauty of this new dimension. Landing softly on a cloud, the purple-haired girl looks around with wide, expectant eyes, waiting for a sign.
Mel cheers with excitement, finding this dream realm far more interesting than she could have ever imagined.
Settling into a cloud, Mel wonders how she will ever find her specific soulmate in such a massive space. Mel realizes she managed to bring her favorite unicorn toy into the dream, and she holds it up hopefully. Mel prays for Pony to help her find her most happy dream, her eyes closed in a moment of pure sincerity. A rhythmic thud-thud echoes through the dream as a pair of large, white hooves gallop across the clouds. Mel lies atop a giant, soft creature as it approaches, feeling a sudden and powerful connection to its presence. A magnificent, winged unicorn greets Mel as its master, its glowing body radiating a soft, welcoming light. The unicorn asks Mel for a name, explaining it traveled from a faraway place just to finally meet her. The majestic creature insists that Mel must give it a name so that they can live together forever. Mel panics, fearing her new soulmate might vanish if she takes too long to think of a suitable name. Mel suddenly shouts, "Sugar!" deciding on a name that reflects the sweetness she feels in her heart. Overjoyed, Mel hugs the massive unicorn as floating pink hearts appear to celebrate their new, unbreakable bond. Mel reflects on how her father never named her, but she feels proud to have given Sugar his own identity. Sugar the unicorn accepts his name with pride, confirming his eternal loyalty as they soar through the dreamscape. Returning to the real world, Mel excitedly introduces her father to Sugar, her new winged and horned companion. The Duke looks on with a bewildered expression, confirming that the creature is indeed a legendary unicorn. Mel beams with pride as she looks at the shimmering Sugar, finding the divine creature incredibly cute and friendly. Abel and the Duke are stunned, noting that a unicorn has never once appeared at this sacred ceremony before. Gazing into Sugar's kind eyes, Mel marveled at the magical fate that brought them together in the dream world. Sugar explains that soulmates have been waiting since the moment of creation to finally meet their destined master. Mel gently touches the unicorn's face, feeling a wave of pity for how lonely he must have been waiting. Abel is confused by the horse's humming sounds, while Mel insists they are having a very real conversation. A sudden realization strikes Mel, and she taps her chin as her expression turns thoughtful and alert.
Mel asks her father if he saw the hooded blonde boy, but the boy only offers a secretive shh. The Duke and Abel look around in confusion, seeing absolutely no one else in the immediate area. Putting the mystery aside, a hungry Mel asks her father if they can go find something delicious to eat. Abel suggests a famous restaurant, while the Duke offers his daughter whatever she desires, leaving Mel feeling strangely regretful. A mysterious blonde boy's beautiful lips leave a lasting impression as Sugar promises to always appear whenever Mel calls. The grand carriage rolls through the lush, sun-dappled forest as the family begins their journey back from the tree. Hidden nearby, the mysterious blonde boy notes how quickly the young demon girl noticed his secretive presence. Adjusting his hood, the blonde boy reveals an intricate flower pendant as he continues his quiet observation from afar. Walking through the garden, the hooded boy is drawn to a sweet scent while noblewomen gossip in the distance. The blonde boy worries about the Emperor's artifact, hoping the ancient item hasn't malfunctioned during his secret excursion. Deep in thought, Mel recognizes the boy as the first blonde human male she has ever seen at the ceremony. She realizes that if a blonde human lived in the palace, there is no way she wouldn't know of him. Distracted by his partner before, the boy returns to the Tree of Life to finally hear its prophecy clearly. Standing before the ancient entity, the blonde boy contemplates a dark prophecy regarding his own inevitable, singular death. The scene shifts to a grand illustration of Mel on a golden throne, cherished by her powerful demon father. A spectacular feast is laid out, featuring roasted turkey, lobster, and fine steak for the returning family's celebration. Happily munching on meat, Mel asks her father to buy a gift for Abel to celebrate his new friendship. The Duke and Abel trade light-hearted banter over dinner, each trying to outdo the other's affection for the girl. When the Duke demands more obedience, Abel playfully retorts that he would much rather be a clever, sly demon. The Duke turns his attention to Mel, casually offering to decapitate the Emperor if it would please his daughter. Horrified, Mel quickly rejects the offer, insisting that the Emperor's head wouldn't make for a very pretty decoration. Unfazed, her father offers to, and Mel tries to convince herself that her family's terrifying suggestions are just a unique brand of demonic humor. While the Duke admits he's joking, Abel laughs and teasingly insists that their father was actually telling the truth. A sudden boom echoes as Abel recalls the explosive struggle he endured to tame a baby flying dragon soulmate. Mel is determined to avoid such a dangerous ordeal, refusing to leave home for a week just for taming. Swallowing her nerves, the purple-haired girl realizes she must be honest about her own true desires and goals.
Mel surprises her family by declaring she wants to study, causing Abel to look at her in complete shock. She explains her wish to understand the demon world and discover the full extent of her own hidden powers. Mel privately fears that a more talented sibling might one day replace her in her father's cold heart. Listing her interests, Mel tells the Duke she wants to learn about business, dreams, and the demonic realm. The Duke thoughtfully agrees, promising to bring the finest teachers in the land to oversee his daughter's education. Mel's eyes sparkle with excitement at the prospect of learning from the best mentors her father can provide. When Abel asks about her love for gems, Mel proudly states she will buy her own jewels one day. Praised for her brilliance, Mel envisions herself as that future millionaire dominating the entire global gemstone market. Snuggled into her soft pink bed, Mel reflects on the wonderful day and the good things in her life. As she drifts toward sleep, Sugar approaches her bedside, and Mel hopes the unicorn will always stay near. The young girl reaches out to her soulmate, expressing a sweet desire to hug the majestic unicorn while she sleeps. Seeing Sugar can't fit on the bed, Mel tries to climb down, but the unicorn insists she stays comfortable. Mel worries that the hard floor will be uncomfortable for Sugar, wanting only the best for her new companion. Mel suggests a magical compromise, leaving the shimmering unicorn curious about what the young lady has in mind. With a sudden, colorful burst of magic, a small and cuddly plush version of the unicorn appears. Overjoyed, Mel realizes Sugar has transformed into a huggable plushie so they can finally share the bed together. Mel drifts off into a peaceful sleep, tightly hugging the small, soft unicorn amidst a swirl of happy hearts. The next morning, a maid leads Mel to a grand room that has been specially converted into a classroom. A sudden, light knock-knock sounds as Mel prepares to meet her new teacher behind the grand doors. A welcoming voice calls out as Mel peeks inside, her golden eyes widening in surprise at the sight within. A stunning woman in black lace, Neves Lilith, introduces herself as the teacher sent by the Duke. Mel is thrilled to meet another female demon, learning that her new teacher is actually the daughter of Lilith. Smiling brightly, Mel introduces herself as Mia Durnevre, and the two share a warm initial greeting. Knives Lilith remarks on the rarity of seeing female demons, her expression turning pensive as she mentions the Neraphims. Sitting together under the great tree, Mel realizes that her teacher is already well acquainted with her difficult past. As their first lesson begins, Knives Lilith wonders what she should teach the eager young lady first. Neves Lilith offers to teach Mel about the 4 typical demonic curses, her expression warm and inviting. Mel reacts with wide-eyed shock, her face turning pale at the unexpected direction of her first lesson. Neves explains that a high-class demon must master the art of cursing with a certain level of sophistication. A magical scroll unfurls, listing the unusual demonic curses: gentle, caring, and unable to raise children. Pointing at the scroll, Knives emphasizes that the final curse is the most difficult and important to remember. Knives notes the Duke's excellence in this area, recalling his unique methods for raising Mel's brother, Abel. A sudden, thunderous boom echoes as Mel envisions Abel amidst the fiery destruction he once caused at the palace. Knives describes the king throwing Abel into a volcano, though he was eventually forgiven for finding rare fruit. Horrified by the story, Mel vows never to act like her brother, while Neves finds the tale amusing. Shifting the lesson, Knives prepares to teach Mel about the importance of praise within high-class demon society. Mel is confused by the concept of praise, but Neves insists this ritual is essential for noble representation. Neves instructs the young girl to live a bad life, explaining that mere survival is never enough. Mel remembers her past life, where others constantly tried to drag her down or force her to surrender. She recalls when being gentle and obedient was her only way to ensure she had enough to eat. Because she was once weak and vulnerable, Mel felt she had no choice but to accept her lot. Neves advises Mel to never be gentle, urging her to keep what she wants firmly in her grasp. A sudden realization strikes Mel, and she decides that she truly never wanted to be gentle at all. A grand promotional illustration features the title, "The Duke's Dark Lady," showcasing a dark-haired woman and silver-haired man. Mel looks up with determined golden eyes and declares that her primary goal is to earn more money. Surprised, Neves asks why she wouldn't just ask her father, but Mel insists on building her own fortune.
Neves praises Mel's ambitious demonic spirit and asks exactly how much money the young girl hopes to earn.
Mel throws her arms wide with excitement, indicating an amount so large it's almost impossible to measure.
Mel boldly declares her ambition is to earn enough to purchase every palace and land the king owns.
Sensing a shift in the mood, Mel worries if her grand ambitions were too disrespectful for a student.
Neves bursts into joyous laughter, delighted by the sheer audacity and greed displayed by the Duke's young daughter.
Knives compares her greed to the human emperor, finding her ambition perfectly suited for a member of Durnevray. Touching Mel's nose, Knives encourages her fierce ambition, recognizing her as the Duke's true and worthy daughter. Neves smiles warmly to herself, expressing a sweet wish that her own daughter could be as spirited as Mia.
Knives shows Mel the Emperor's vast lands and palace, leaving the young girl filled with intense, burning jealousy. Neves is surprised that seeing the Emperor's immense wealth didn't dismay Mel, but instead only fueled her desire.
Climbing a floating staircase, Mel confidently asserts her potential to become a powerful demon just like the Emperor. Knives watches the girl thoughtfully, wondering if Mel's character truly mirrors that of the current human emperor.
Touching her chin, Neves anticipates that something very interesting is bound to happen in the near future.
The Duke suddenly bursts through the doors, announcing that school time is officially over for the day. The Duke refuses to let Mel study any longer, while Knives teases him about being an overprotective father.
Neves playfully asks if the Duke will become an obsessive father when Mel eventually finds a boyfriend.
The Duke scoops up his daughter, apologizing for the wait, and announcing her new playroom is finally finished. Knives bids Mel a fond farewell, looking forward to their next lesson together in the beautiful garden. As Mel departs with her father, Knives offers one last mysterious smile, satisfied with the day's progress. The Duke warns Mel not to get too close to Neves, revealing the teacher almost hypnotized her. A vision of the lesson shows Mel slumped over a cloud, nearly succumbing to Neves' powerful hypnotic aura. Mel curiously asks if Knives tried to hypnotize her father as well, but he seems entirely unfazed. The Duke smiles and reassures his daughter there is no need for concern as they approach the room. A loud creak sounds as the Duke opens the massive golden doors to reveal a stunning surprise.
Mel is speechless with wonder, finding herself standing before a room overflowing with mountains of golden coins.
The Duke invites Mel to explore the massive hoard of gems and gold he collected, especially for her. Mel discovers several golden monster figurines on a table, ranging from a powerful minotaur to a phoenix. The Duke shows her a golden dragon named Wibbon, while the massive, real creature roars in the background. He presents a golden Minotaurus figurine next, as the actual towering beast looms behind him with glowing eyes. Mel realizes that while her father is very kind, his personal hobby is undeniably strange and terrifying. The Duke asks if Mel likes her new room. She beams with joy while holding a golden figurine. Her father grants her full control over the treasure. Mel feels hesitant about destroying such precious, shimmering items. Mentioning Abel's destructive habits, the Duke explains demon nature. Mel thoughtfully considers her own unique family dynamic. Mel attempts a demonic outburst by throwing a toy, but she immediately regrets the unnecessary, aggressive act. Mel offers a sincere and heartwarming thank you. The Duke freezes in complete shock at her unexpected gratitude. Stunned by the polite gesture, the dark-haired Duke stares blankly, processing his young daughter's sweet behavior. Standing atop a massive mountain of gold, Mel thanks her father for providing such wonderful and valuable gifts. The Duke suggests using the wealth for business capital. Mel looks on with a newfound sense of ambition. Surveying the staggering piles of coins, Mel is completely breathless at the sheer scale of her new fortune. Mel calculates the total value of the treasure, her eyes sparkling at the nearly 2 million hepe total. The Duke teases Mel about her millionaire dreams. The young girl reacts with a comical and overwhelmed expression. With a confident smirk, the Duke declares that this vast hoard is her first lesson in early education. Mel calculates her childhood expenses, delighted to find her upbringing is already fully funded by the treasure. Rolling joyfully in the coins, Mel vows to earn even more wealth to fill the entire grand room.
Surrounded by shimmering gold, Mel boldly declares her ambition to one day become a legendary and successful businesswoman. Mel explores the castle grounds with Tina. The maid is impressed by the young lady's sophisticated vocabulary. Spotting bright, ripe fruit in the garden, Mel gazes longingly at the sweet treats hanging just out of reach. A sudden, loud shout of "Young lady!" echoes as the butler startles Mel by appearing from the bushes. Mel's face pales with shock at the butler's intense and sudden interruption during her quiet moment in the garden. Overwhelmed by the surprise, Mel faints on the path. Tina and the butler cry out in a panicked rush. A vision of a silver-haired boy and an orange-haired girl marks a brief transition in the narrative flow. Back at the castle, Mel eats dessert while the butler offers a humble and tearful apology for startling her. Desperate for help, the butler begs Mel for her assistance with a serious problem involving her father's work. The butler points toward the Duke's busy office, where several staff members are buried under endless stacks of paperwork. The Duke ignores his official duties, focusing entirely on brainstorming names for a series of new daughter-themed holidays. Staff members recoil in horror as the Duke prioritizes holiday planning over the urgent and pressing matters of state. Contemplating Mia Genius Day, the Duke smiles warmly while entirely ignoring the mounting piles of documents on his desk. The list of ridiculous holidays grows longer as the butler screams in frustration at the Duke's growing obsession. A close-up reveals the Duke's concern that deciding on too many celebrations might accidentally put pressure on Mel. Ignoring his staff's distress, the Duke demands they immediately begin preparations for the newly invented festivities. The butler laments that the Duke's neglect of his duties will lead the entire family to ruin eventually. Mel remains unbothered, calmly enjoying her strawberry dessert while Tina stands patiently and quietly by her side. Both Mel and Tina dismiss the butler's dire warnings, viewing his behavior as a simple case of dramatic exaggeration. The butler pleads with Mel to convince her father to finish his neglected and very important royal responsibilities. Mel suggests a different approach, and the butler is awestruck, calling the young lady a true genius. With double thumbs up and a bright smile, the butler enthusiastically accepts Mel's clever and helpful suggestion. Handing over a file, the butler explains that a vital interceptor weapon permit has been delayed for a week. Mel looks over the report, curious and slightly confused by the mention of these strange and powerful interceptor weapons. A vision of war fills the air as Mel recalls dark, recurring dreams of cannons and skybound bullets. The purple-haired girl stares at the report, deeply troubled by the violent and dangerous implications of aerial weaponry. Mel flatly refuses to help with the weapon project, her expression turning cold and dismissive of the idea. She fears becoming the catalyst for a devastating war and rejects any involvement with such lethal and destructive technology. Sensing her discomfort, the butler quickly searches through his many papers for a more suitable and peaceful task. He presents a report on a natural tragedy, describing a powerful tornado created by increasing demonic energy. The butler explains the frequent property damage caused by the storms, seeking a real solution for the territory's safety. Slam! A massive pile of petitions hits the table. Mel is shocked by the sheer volume of citizen requests. Crying out, the butler begs for Mel's help since the Duke has completely abandoned his necessary administrative duties. Mel sees a golden opportunity, realizing that this request could be her very first official business contract. The young lady asks for her price, wondering exactly what the butler will give her in return for help. The butler bows deeply, promising to work for Mel if she manages to satisfy his urgent request. Surprising riches and elegant outfits await in the girl's treasure-filled room, making her feel truly exceptional. The purple-haired girl proudly asks if she looks demonic, while the black-haired butler praises her impressive efforts. Touching his chin, the black-haired man contemplates a special gift, leaving the young girl satisfied with her progress. A sudden mention of world-class marshmallows from the butler catches the young girl completely off guard. The young girl's eyes go wide with shock as she reacts to the unexpected news about sweet treats. Radiant with energy, the butler promises to provide 31 distinct types of marshmallows in exchange for her help. Salivating with intense anticipation, the purple-haired girl is desperate to taste the vast variety of colorful sweets. The butler describes delightful shapes and fondue pairings, further fueling the young girl's overwhelming excitement for the deal.
Clutching her documents, the girl worries whether her father will actually listen to her advice on territory matters.
The butler enthusiastically reassures her that the Duke would certainly listen to his precious daughter's input.
Talk, their hands meet in a firm agreement, sealing the deal as the girl commits to her capital.
Seated on her throne, the young girl looks downward, pondering her next move to solve the territory's problems.
A sudden spark of inspiration flashes in the girl's eye as a brilliant realization strikes her. As dusk falls over the grand castle, a narration suggests that children possess the most powerful weapon of all. Dinner begins in the grand hall, but the purple-haired girl finds the atmosphere strangely quiet despite her father's presence. Watching the dark-haired Duke, the girl worries that his continued neglect of duties will lead to financial ruin. A vision of the butler screaming in despair highlights the urgent need to save the family from complete collapse. The Duke and the red-haired boy sit across from each other, feeling the weight of the girl's disapproval. Sitting with her maid Tina, the girl asserts her preference for demons who fulfill their responsibilities diligently. The girl boldly declares she will reward any hardworking demon with a sweet kiss on the cheek. Both the Duke and the red-haired boy are frozen in total bewilderment by her unexpected and innocent reward. Commanding Tina to lower her head, the purple-haired girl prepares to demonstrate exactly what she means. A fleeting vision of a happy family reminds the girl of how fathers usually react to such affection.
Ooh, Duke. The Duke cracks his knuckles, his expression darkening with an intense and competitive aura.
Overwhelmed by the young lady's kindness, Tina weeps with joy while the girl watches on with satisfaction. A stunning vision of a red-haired lady embracing a silver-haired man appears, shifting the tone momentarily. The red-haired boy looks on with envy, frustrated that he wasn't the first to receive the girl's affection. Crack! The sound of knuckles popping fills the air as the competitive tension between the men reaches its peak. Tina continues to sob hysterically from the emotional impact of the kiss, while the girl looks slightly concerned. The butler laments his own lack of reward, weeping about the cowardly men and his missed opportunity. Trembling with fear, the girl worries that the men's intense competitive energy might actually cause the house to collapse. Lightning flashes as the men's jealousy fuels a terrifying atmosphere, while the girl tries to maintain control. Standing up, the girl tells the red-haired boy that he must work hard if he wants his reward. The red-haired boy shouts in protest, feeling that he has worked far harder than anyone else. Storm clouds and crackling energies surround the castle as the household's chaotic competition for a kiss escalates. Sitting atop a fluffy white creature, the girl wonders how to motivate them without causing more jealous friction. With a decisive gesture, the girl raises 2 fingers and promises a double reward for the fastest worker. A sudden, heavy silence falls over the dining room as the men process the ultimate incentive. The girl calls out her father's lies about finishing his work, demanding he return to his professional duties. Setting the terms of the competition, the girl announces that only the hardest worker will win her affection. The Duke and the red-haired boy share a lethal glare, ready to start the most productive race of their lives. Standing up in unison, both men announce their immediate departure to finally tackle the piles of paperwork. The red-haired man waves a hand back, urging the girl to enjoy her fruit while he focuses on work. Walking away with grim determination, the 2 men head toward the office to prove their worthiness. Watching them leave, the girl sighs at how childish adults can be, yet celebrates the amazing effect of her plan. Exhausted clerks groan over the mountains of documents, completely drained by the sudden surge in administrative activity. Assistant Gius, the gray-haired demon, writes furiously while reporting on a dangerous new drug circulating in the territory. Looking down at the reports, the Duke learns of 3 victims, realizing the gravity of the situation they face. The purple-haired Duke issues strict orders to capture and interrogate black market sellers immediately. His black-haired assistant diligently records the harsh penalties designated for any criminals caught. A sudden, sharp tack sounds as the feather quill taps against the desk in deep thought. Who goes the room as the Duke grants a break, leaving his exhausted staff to collapse? The concerned assistant offers the Duke juice, noting his master's relentless focus on the family business. Overwhelmed with joy, the assistant celebrates the Duke's unprecedented productivity and newfound work ethic. High above the city, the purple-haired girl, Mia, cheers for her father's incredible dedication to his duties. Days later, Mia enjoys a sweet treat while wondering if her father is still working hard. A sudden, rhythmic knock at the door startles Mia from her peaceful afternoon snack. An orange-haired youth delivers a golden invitation, requesting Mia's presence in her father's grand office. Flanked by loyal attendants, Mia prepares to visit the office and see how a high-level devil works. The horned maid marvels at Mia's height, making the young girl's eyes widen in absolute surprise. Mia is thrilled by the news, her face glowing with excitement at the thought of growing taller. Determined to become a powerful demon, Mia marches forward with her attendants through the grand hallway. Talk. The youth knocks at the massive office doors to announce Mia Derndevr's arrival. Balkak. The doors fly open as the staff inside greets the young lady with reverent, joyous enthusiasm. Standing with regal poise, the Duke welcomes Mia into his impressively large and radiant workspace. The Duke proudly introduces Mia as his daughter, the precious future leader of the entire demon world. Mia blushes with intense embarrassment as her father asks about her morning activities in front of everyone. Pondering her response, Mia desperately searches for a way to sound impressive and save her father's face. A dramatic do-dung sounds as Mia claims she grew taller, prompting the subordinates to bow in awe.
The enthusiastic assistant suggests declaring a national holiday to celebrate the young lady's remarkable growth.
Mia is horrified by the idea, dreading the annoyance of a holiday for every tiny inch she gains. A dark shadow falls over the Duke as the assistant jokingly warns him not to overdo it. Sensing the rising tension, Mia quickly tries to change the subject by mentioning her love for marshmallows. Mia's eyes sparkle with genuine wonder as she admires the sheer scale and beauty of her father's office. The staff gasps in collective shock, completely moved by the young girl's sweet and innocent praise. Mia notices her father's subtle, expectant look, realizing he is waiting for his own share of praise. The Duke describes the endless mountains of paperwork he conquered to prove his worth to his daughter. The staff watches in disbelief as their formidable master shamelessly fishes for compliments from his child. Overflowing with affection, Mia hugs her father tightly and declares him the absolute best in the world. The Duke smiles warmly, demanding a kiss on the cheek as a reward for his hard work. Mia hesitates, her face flushing as she realizes the entire staff is watching their intimate family moment. Mia turns to the gray-haired Ravius, asking for honest confirmation of her father's recent efforts. Kakak! Ravius an enthusiastic thumbs up, confirming the Duke's legendary dedication to his daughter's pride. Jock! Mia finally leans in and plants a sweet, rewarding kiss on her father's cheek. The greedy Duke turns his head, immediately demanding another kiss for the other side as well. Comical tears stream down the faces of the staff, overcome with intense jealousy at the heartwarming display. Mia's expression suddenly shifts to focus as she senses an unexpected presence approaching the office. She politely asks her father to be put down, transitioning from his arms back to the floor. Mia observes Uncle Ravius, noting his deep envy toward the affection she shows her father. Looking at him thoughtfully, Mia considers how beneficial it would be to win him over with charm. Mia calls out to Uncle Ravius, catching the gray-haired man off guard with her sudden attention. With a bright and adorable expression, Mia strikes a cute pose and asks if he finds her adorable. A stone bull statue nearby shatters as Ravius reacts with overwhelming emotional intensity to the girl's cuteness. The Duke remains unfazed, coldly ordering his men to take the over-emotional Ravius out of the room. As he is dragged away, Mia tries to comfort the sobbing Ravius while her father watches sternly. Kwang! The doors explode inward as Abel rushes in, frantically shouting for his baby sister in a panic. The bond between the devil and his beloved daughter continues to grow amidst the chaos of court. As one story reaches a pause, the legacy of tyrants and their precious heirs unfolds in the shadows. The red-haired boy accuses the black-haired Duke of receiving a kiss on the cheek during their ongoing bet. With a smug smirk, the black-haired man tells the boy he arrived a step too late to win. The Duke demands the boy admit defeat, while the frustrated youth desperately begs for one more chance to play. High above the grand castle, the boy's loud protests echo fruitlessly through the air as the scene shifts. Clutching her unicorn plushie, the purple-haired girl Mel prepares for an important lesson with her teacher, Miss Knives.
Mel hops down the stairs with a light skip as the dark-haired maid Suga warns her to be careful.
It's okay, the girl chirps, while her magical unicorn plushie offers to catch her if she happens to fall. The young girl thanks Suga before happily running off to the garden room to begin her morning lessons. Bursting through the glass doors, the purple-haired girl eagerly calls out for Miss Knives to start their day. Miss Knives, elegant in her black lace gown, welcomes the young princess to their study session with a smile. The young girl asks what they are learning, and Knives reveals it is time to master her hidden power. Radiant with excitement, the girl listens as her teacher giggles at her eagerness to begin the new lesson. Knives demonstrates water magic, explaining that Mel possesses a mature, inherent capacity that will eventually manifest itself naturally. Mel observes that Knives is a water demon, noting the contrast with the Duke's fire-based demonic abilities. Knives explains that Mel's dream power is abstract and difficult to control compared to more simple material elements. Shocked and curious, the purple-haired girl asks for a deeper explanation of what her talent truly represents. To explain, Knives produces a theoretical summary and promises to show the girl how to master her special gifts. A scroll reveals the first step of a dream demon's power: observing and choosing specific paths within dreams. The second step describes infiltrating the dreams of others, visualized by Mel entering the red-haired boy's subconscious world. Further lessons explain how to create artificial dreams and plant specific visions into the minds of other people. Startling the butler from his work, the fifth step demonstrates the ability to forcibly awaken anyone who is sleeping. The final lesson mentions taming demons within dreams, prompting Mel to wonder if such a feat is actually possible. Reading over the report, the purple-haired girl realizes her powers are far more versatile than she originally believed. A vision of a fashionable demoness appears as Knives mentions the succubus and incubus entities that inhabit dreams. Utterly confused by the strange vocabulary, the young girl asks for a clearer definition of these mysterious dream beings. Knives explains that succubus and incubus are gendered terms for the various demons that dwell within the dream realm. These entities survive by consuming the dreams of others, making it vital to tame them to harness great power. Determined, the purple-haired girl declares she wants to quickly catch and tame these dream-eating demons for herself. Mel trembles with a sudden fear of being eaten, but Knives reassures her that she is safely protected. Knives shares a legend of a former dream demon who successfully tamed a massive harem of dozens of servants. A colorful promotional banner highlights another series while thanking readers for their support of the current manhwa. Stunned by the girl's blunt curiosity, the purple-haired teacher pauses to consider how to define an adult concept. With a bright and cheerful smile, Knives tells the girl to imagine having dozens of boyfriends all at once. The young girl stares blankly, wondering what possible good could come from having so many different boyfriends. Knives uses a calendar to explain, suggesting that with 31 boyfriends, one could be chosen for every single day. Mel remains skeptical, questioning the idea of choosing boyfriends like one might select different types of food to eat. Knives explains that having a harem simply means using dream demons to play and have fun however she wishes. The young girl's expression turns serious as she prepares to ask her teacher a much deeper, more troubling question. Mel asks why the former dream demon died if their power over others' dreams was truly so absolute. Knives reveals the demon died after losing a battle for the throne, a high-stakes conflict where the price is life. An ornate, jeweled crown is shown as Knives explains the Demon King is tested through battle every 50 years. Mel is terrified by the high stakes, and Knives notes the former demon was blinded by their own greed. Looking at the fallen demoness, Mel wonders if the power of dreams could have helped her predict her loss. Knives explains she never participated in the battle because the king had already been chosen during her own era. The girl asks who the chosen one was, and Knives describes Khan Gaia, the most powerful and evil queen. A vision shows the Duke and Knives at tea, veterans who have lived since the ancient era of Khan Gaia. The young girl's eyes sparkle with an intense curiosity about the identity and nature of the legendary evil queen. Knives tries to steer the conversation back to the girl's abilities, though Mel is still distracted by the history. Finally, the girl asks her teacher why she is unable to see or tell her own future predictions. Scales balance against a fire background, as Knives explains that all abilities require a price called compensation. Knives ponders the chaos that would ensue if everyone could manipulate the future for their own selfish desires. Nom Nom, a mental image shows Abel eating Mel's chocolates, illustrating the personal cost of sharing dream secrets.
Knives gently pets Mel's head, warning her that she alone must choose the future while keeping her knowledge secret.
Mel listens with wide-eyed intensity, her expression shifting to shock as she learns the gravity of revealing her dreams. While Mel compares the cost to losing marshmallows, Knives grimly reveals that revealing dreams can lead to death. Terrified, Mel hugs her unicorn plushie and vows to keep her mouth shut forever to avoid the painful consequences. Knives reassures the girl that her status as the powerful Duke's daughter provides her with a vital safety net. Mel is horrified to learn that weaker dream demons were often kidnapped, realizing her family's strength is her shield.
Transitioning into a chibi form, Knives eagerly prepares to show Mel how to put someone into a magical sleep.
Knives guides Mel's hands, urging her to feel the immature but potent power awakening within her small body. Keeping a steady and gentle hand, Knives promises to go slowly as Mel begins her first practical training session. Knives stands with elegant poise, ready to demonstrate the refined techniques and mystical aura of a high-ranking demon. Mel gasps as a glowing horn appears on Knives' forehead, proving she is far superior to any lowly demon. Obeying her teacher's command, Mel closes her eyes with a happy smile to begin the dream manipulation exercise. A hand reaches out to touch Mel's forehead, the air shimmering with light as the magical initiation begins. Light flashes as Mel's consciousness begins to drift, her hair flowing upward as she enters a deep state of trance. Glowing butterflies flutter through a sparkling void, symbolizing the transition into the abstract and delicate world of dreams. Mel reaches toward the radiant butterflies, mesmerized by the ethereal and shimmering beauty of the dream realm around her. Falling through a soft, starry void, Mel looks up in surprise as the butterflies guide her through the transition. Large cloud-like hands cradle the scene as Knives' voice gently tells the young girl to open her eyes. Mel marvels at the magical world she has entered, while Knives smiles at the success of their first session. Knives explains that Mel's prophetic awareness allows her to see the future, even within this artificial dream world. When Mel asks if it's true, Knives encourages her not to be disappointed if the visions don't come immediately. Knives ends the lesson, announcing that tomorrow's practice will involve lulling 4 different animals into a deep sleep. Handing over a thick, ornate book, Knives suggests that Mel study it to further refine her demonic dream powers. Back in her room, Mel sits before a stack of heavy books, determined to meet her teacher's high expectations. Mel reaches for a book, promising herself that she will work hard and never betray the trust Knives placed in her. Opening a green notebook, Mel prepares to start learning, her eyes focused on mastering the secrets of dream magic. Mel admires the green notebook, noting that its original owner must have been a very clever and organized demon. The text reveals that prophetic powers can be enhanced through practice, allowing one to see both near and far futures. Mel prays sincerely for a vision of promised marshmallows, realizing that the power of dreams originates from the heart. A blue-haired man appears as the text emphasizes that sincerity is the key to strengthening one's prophetic demonic powers. Mel sighs, realizing that simply wanting to know isn't enough to trigger the visions without a deeper sense of sincerity. Recalling her first successful visions, Mel realizes she was only so sincere because she was desperate for a solution. Mel discovers the book belonged to a demon who tamed 32 incubus, shown as a vision of an elegant demoness. The demoness laughs about her dramatic life, while Mel questions if she should keep reading this strange historical account. Everyone is jealous of the demoness's many lovers, suggesting that her excessive self-love was a point worth learning. Mel flips the page with a curious look, hoping the notebook will finally explain how to hunt other demons. The notebook describes the demoness's love for dueling in dreams, celebrating her dramatic victories in the limitless astral realm. Mel stares at a page full of censored text about the demoness's secret activities, looking completely bewildered and unsettled. Reaching for the final book, Mel suddenly stops as her instincts warn her of an unexpected presence nearby. Mel freezes with wide eyes, sensing an intense gaze watching her from somewhere within the quiet study room. Clutching her unicorn plushie, Mel looks around nervously as her magical companion warns her that someone is approaching. The red-haired boy, Abel, peeks through a narrow crack in the double doors with a silent, intense stare. Startled, Mel shouts Abel's name while the red-haired youth groans, feeling annoyed at being caught so quickly. Mel points out her no entry sign, scolding Abel for interrupting her important studies and ignoring the rules. Abel peeks back through the door, looking flustered and desperate as he tries to explain his sudden intrusion. Pouting with frustration, Abel argues that his hard work deserves a reward and he only wants to talk. Creak! Abel fully opens the heavy doors and walks in, ready to demand the attention and affection he feels he's earned. Relenting, Mel tells the red-haired boy he can enter if he wishes, though she offers him an exit. Overjoyed, Abel skips toward a chair, eagerly accepting the invitation to finally spend time in Mel's study. Mel notices ink stains on Abel's sleeve and begins cleaning them, ordering the startled youth to straighten his arms. Abel quickly pulls back, insisting that such motherly fussing isn't how a sister should behave toward him. Mel ponders the definition of a sister's role while politely asking the red-haired boy for permission to sit. Teasing him with a smile, Mel tells Abel she was only joking and welcomes him to take a seat. Whew! Abel releases a long, weary breath as he settles onto the seat, looking exhausted from his recent efforts. Mel asks about his daily life, and Abel explains his shift from army duties to managing family-related affairs. Abel describes his role in tracking down debtors and swindlers who attempt to cheat the powerful Dernevray family. Mel suddenly understands, equating his high-stakes family business to the simple task of catching bad guys. The red-haired boy stares off with a solemn intensity, the weight of his dangerous responsibilities visible in his expression.